Oh, it's in a flying saucer.
You've seen one?
Yes,
Where was
definitely.
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
To cover up our mistakes.
I've met people who swear they've seen Bigfoot.
Join us for a journey into the obscure.
You are now listening to The Wow Pod. Welcome to the show.
Yay.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
We have some guests in with us today.
Yes, we do.
Trying to find us here. We'll give everyone just a minute to get logged on.
Yep. And while we do that, I am going to
Drink.
pour me some beer.
If I wasn't driving, I'd try your beer.
You can maybe try a taste of it.
It really did smell bad when you were making it, so.
Yeah.
Oh, it made my daughter cry. It stunk so bad in here. My kids still ask. They're like, we want to go to Uncle Jared's, but is he making beer?
Oh my gosh. So you make your own, huh?
They don't want to come
Yeah.
if he's making beer.
Yeah, this is homemade beer.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a smell, Betsy. Tell me what you think.
Is it near as bad? This cup, first of all.
It's huge.
Yeah.
That doesn't smell bad.
No.
That doesn't smell bad. Is this
It
your new
smells
one, or is
more-
that the one that I was here for?
This is the one
Definitely
you're
smells
here
more alcohol-y than normal beer.
They
for. Oh,
put,
it is.
And
It
I
is.
don't usually like the smell of beer, and so I don't drink it, but I'll usually drink anything else.
Yeah,
They
this
put
is-
a ton of hops in it.
Mm-hmm. So it's got a really robust flavor. If you guys want to try it.
Hi,
No,
Christy.
thank you. I am not a beer person. Sorry.
Cody,
All right.
Cody and Christy are watching, or people
Yeah.
are jumping on.
Yeah. So we may as well just get
Get
rolling.
some introductions out of the way.
Yeah. So tonight we have the PairONormal Girls.
Which,
Yeah.
by the way,
Get it like PAIR.
best
pair.
name in history.
Oh,
Oh,
hey.
thank you.
When Sarah
yeah.
told us that last week, I was like, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was supposed to be a play
You
on
have
a pair
to copyright
of just normal
that.
girls.
You need to have it on like T-shirts
You
and
know, well, we once asked when we first started out. So when we first started out, she was only 13. She's now 18 now. But we were only like 6 months into just created the team, and we weren't doing a lot. We weren't actually producing content. We were just going to investigations and, kind of finding our way. And we actually had someone from a cable TV show call and ask if we would be interested in either selling the name or looking into doing a show with them. I never told her that. I kept it quiet. I kind of didn't think it was real at first, and they were kind of insistent. And I just felt no. And I'm like, I'm probably going to regret that later. Yeah. And now we hear like 5 years later, and I'm kind of regretting that. Because we think it'd be cool, but I just don't want to do it because, with cable TV shows, it's often scripted. There's no
they dilute.
flow. Yeah, and not only that though, but each season, they have to top ratings. And so when you top ratings, you have to make you go to continuously worse and worse haunted places and stuff. And she was only 13 at the time.
Yes.
So I just thought, I don't think she's really ready to handle anything like that.
Oh, no.
yet.
Well, even then, you
So
don't want to find out.
yeah, well now like I would jump on in a second, and she could handle the worst of cases, which she has with me for the last couple of years. We've done great with it, and so she pretty much can stand on her own now. So
Yeah.
That's outstanding. That's
Yep.
It's the best name.
thank you,
18.
we love it.
Best
We're
name.
having a hard time with our
Yes.
logo. We just cannot. If anyone wants to throw us some logo ideas, that would be great. She hates our current logo. I kind of don't like it as much anymore. So
I don't know if I've seen your logo.
Well, what we'll do is
we'll link their
maybe
Facebook page.
maybe we'll go ahead and we'll definitely link their Facebook page and their individual
Yeah.
pages. But right now we could sponsor a logo competition.
Ooh.
we would love that.
yes.
Heck yeah, and I'd be happy to give out some free readings from me and a couple other mediums. We'll just make a big, huge super reading comprehensive package for every area of your life, different types of readers, something like that. That would be kind of cool.
So,
That would be
Carrie,
fun.
if you're listening, I need you to check these guys out because he's
Yes, Carrie is
Carrie Lewis is an
extreme
artist. He would do a great job.
And we
he
have
does
no
pencil
idea
art.
what we'd even want. So we're kind of open
To
to
anything.
anything at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
Good.
cool.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Good.
Yep.
So
Good, good.
we'll put that together. We'll announce some details. We'll put together like a package for the winner, and then a place where they can submit those.
That would be
in the-
great.
in the
Thank
coming
you.
weeks. That'd be awesome.
That'd
That
be
works.
fun.
I'm excited. I was excited to come here already, but
Yeah.
now that's just cherry.
Well, we're
so-
excited to have you guys here. So let's go ahead and introduce you guys singly.
Okay.
So we'll start with Mom.
So I'm Jennifer Heath. I am 42, and just been having fun with the paranormal. I'm a medium.
Okay.
And
How long?
stuff.
So let's explore
Yes.
your mediumship real
Okay. So my first experience that I ever kind of remember, I was about 5 years old, and I was visiting my grandma's house, which was in Roy, Utah, lays on a ley line, and the whole entire town is really haunted anyways.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a talk for another day, but so I was only about 5 years old, and I was sitting in the bathroom. I was trying to go to the restroom. I think I was constipated and stuff, and there's the bathtub parallel or whatever, it's right next to the toilet, and I just happened to look over, and I saw this old man just staring back at me, and
Constipation done.
well, no, I screamed and I ran out with my pants down, with my pants around my legs. I had thought in that young age, and this was clear, back before people really talked about ghosts and spirits or anything else like that, and I didn't know the word for it, and so I thought he had used magic and had come in and showed up, and he was going to kidnap me or do something else. And I remember running to my grandmother and my parents, and, I remember being comforted. I know that they believed me, but I don't think they explained what happened or even gave, a name for what it was. I didn't even learn about, the word ghost until I was about in my teens. Led a very sheltered kind of life. I was always just someone who just didn't
Maybe
notice
they
that
didn't-
stuff.
they didn't
But
know
I grew
how.
up. Well, I grew up always seeing stuff, but I assumed that it was something we just didn't talk about because no one talked about it. And then when I got into my early teens, girls would kind of tell scary stories and ghost stories and stuff. And I would bring something up, and the girls were just no, that's not true. And the ghost stories didn't kind of unravel how I saw things, or how, you know what I mean, how things went down. And so again, I just thought it was something we kept quiet. And then being a member, add on top of that to being a member of being a Mormon, and it just really isn't really talked about in the religion either. And so I was very naive, and I just thought, again, it was something that you might have seen or heard, but you ignore it, And it wasn't until, I think after I had her, that I kind of learned that that you can talk about it. It is something that a lot of people find great joy in. That's when when Ghost Hunters started coming out and Ghost Adventures, and that's when I was well, wait, people do this for a living?
Wait a
They
minute.
can make teams. There's equipment. I want in on this. So that's kind of how it went down with me.
Wow.
So,
Anybody
yes.
else in your family?
Yes. So it usually gifts run in the family. So sometimes if you are gifted, you can go back and either a grandparent, or a parent is gifted too. And yeah, my whole family was kind of gifted. I think I just got the majority of the gift. Because I remember there was times that, we'd all notice or see something, but again, we'd maybe quickly acknowledge it, and then that was it. So they do tend to run in families, and it doesn't surprise me that I had, we'll explain it here in a minute, but Mary is a psychic child. I happened to marry a very psychic man, but he does nothing with his gift. He kind of wants nothing to do with this at all. And so, yeah, you get two psychic parents, you're going to get a super psychic child sometimes, and that's what had happened with her.
Yep.
So,
All right, Mary, you're up.
So I'm Mary. I just turned 18 actually. I remember my first experience. I was actually at school, and I was bullied a lot in elementary school. I don't know why. Just there's always that one person people would always pick on, and that was me. And so during recess or lunch when we were forced to go outside, I would actually crawl underneath the portables.
I like how she says forced to go
I got that
outside.
too. When we were forced.
See, me,
No.
it was the opposite.
No, not like forced. Like they would seriously, like they would push you out the door and then turn off all the lights and lock the door, and the teacher would just go to the teacher's lounge, and then come back when it was time
So do
to
you
come
I remember
inside.
that.
Because you're kids, you're supposed
Yeah.
to play.
Yeah.
But anyways, every single time I'd go to try to play or even make friends, I would get punched, hit,
Really?
yelled at, told that I was ugly or weird or anything like that. So I just tried to avoid the situation. So I found a hole in one of the portables, and I would crawl
Sad
underneath
story. Please
with
don't.
all the
What's
gravel.
a portable?
Those
Those
Portable.
outside school
The
buildings
outside-
where it's all tinfoil.
Like the
They're
trailers.
trailers.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And I'd crawl underneath it. And I remember one day I wasn't the best at reading, but I loved to read. And I was sitting there trying to read Harry Potter for the first time. And this man sat next to me and started reading the words on the page to me. And eventually just got to the point where I could read it myself, and then he disappeared. And I've never seen him since.
So like a helpful ghost.
Yeah. He was
Oh.
probably about 19 years old
Uh-huh.
with dirty blonde hair that was kind of shorter, and he had green eyes, and he was pretty tall. I don't know how he would be able to fit underneath there, and he'd sit there and read Harry Potter to me until I could read it myself.
And she never told me this. I just found out about this like a couple of months ago.
Oh.
You know how children like
So
like
she
to hide
didn't.
stuff
So
from
she
you?
didn't come home and be like, "Hey,
Yeah,
Mom."
but I
Well-
knew she was gifted as a baby. There was a couple of times, even as an infant. So we live in Ogden, and Ogden's got some crazy stuff going on sometimes. And just as a medium, like an energy filler, you kind of get a feel of the town. And some nights the energy would be just so like dark and heavy, and you just like know there's gonna be something on the news the next day, which usually was. And one night was particularly bad, and she was maybe about 18 months old, and maybe more close to 2. And it was a heavy night, and she was bawling and crying and screaming, and we couldn't do anything to settle her down. And so I just looked at my husband and said, we've got to go for a drive. We got to go up for the canyon, whatever. We need to get out of this house for, about 2 hours. And that's what we did. We got up there, and she calmed down. We happened to actually come back the next, that very night. But on the news, it was a big story back then. There was a gang battle going on at that time, and apparently someone was having a wedding, one of the gangs, and the other gang came in and shot up the whole wedding party in retaliation to something that the wedding family had done prior to that. And so quite a couple of people died and stuff like that. And so
And this was after you guys had left. So
Yes.
maybe she had kind of foretold it or been able to
Yes.
sense it prior to.
yes.
That's
Yeah.
got to be heavy for a little one to feel.
Yeah, I don't think she quite realized it. That was all emotion to her at that time for most children.
That might even make it worse, though.
Yeah, I think it does.
Not being able to sort it out.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of parents that always ask us, what do I do? I think I have a psychic child. How do I know I have a psychic child? And I always explain to people, you just know, watch for what they tell you, watch what they do, be very observant. And it's all these little observations over time that'll give you a good picture of what's possibly going on. And then they say, well, what do we do? And I always just tell them, just support them, give them, maybe try to look up a little bit, give them the correct terminology, tell them that, sometimes it can be scary, but explain to him that not, all spirits or anything else like that are hurtful. You know what I mean? They're just people who have passed on. And as long as they're not like intentionally like being mean and menacing and scaring, just the more you get the child, like you talk them through that, it becomes power. And then you also teach the child to set your boundaries. That's like one of the first things you do is, you basically teach them, this is my area. You try to tell them to imagine a bubble around you. And if there's anything that's coming to you at night or even during the day that is scary to you, you don't like, you tell them, leave. I'm scared. I don't like this. You know, you need to go away. You know, set your boundaries. And we tell them there's power in that. And then we also tell them, you know, if they get worried and they don't think that they can do that, we tell them we teach them to come to their parent and say, hey, this is what's going on, and then have the parent help set that boundary in the house. You need to leave. You're not welcome here.
So the correct answer wouldn't be I go hide under my covers when they
Try not to. As the adult, you're gonna have to try not to.
You're on your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, she does that to me all the time too. When we have something coming by our house now, she looks at me and says, Mary, that's on you. You take care of that. Like, and then she goes in her room and she's like, you take care of that.
Yeah, I've spent years protecting her.
No,
Protecting her. She's more than capable now. And so now, like, I've given over most of the house security over to her. That's her job to do now.
Okay, house security. We touched on this
With
last
Sarah, which she's here, by the way. Hi, Sarah. Welcome.
week.
Hey,
Yes.
Sarah.
Hi, Darren. Hi, Ben.
What is house security?
Hi,
How do you
Chanda.
do it?
Oh my gosh. There's so many different ways.
So you met my house security.
Yeah. You know, it's funny as pets can be, you know, like house
tell
security.
me.
They're great.
At least, if nothing else, they alert you if something's off.
Exactly. Pets are very good at picking up things. Not all of them, but, you know, some do pick it up. I think security depends on what you want it to be. There's no right answer for house security. It's a matter of, like I said, setting up boundaries, and you can do that any way you want. Some people use intention only. Other people might use crystals or essential oils or I guess you could say spells. What else? What am I thinking?
Taking your personal space bubble and extending it to around the house so that it covers not just you, but the whole house, and setting the intention that way.
Religious items, whatever fits and works for you, you can make it that works, honestly, for the most part. I mean, there's some times when you're dealing with a severe enough haunting where those things won't work, but that's in the rare cases, we're going to say.
I'm going to raise a platoon of Yorkies.
Well, they always say the smaller the dog, like the more like, it's almost like they're making up for it, and so they really put themselves out there energy-wise.
Oh, does she ever?
I would agree with that statement.
Yeah.
So you're a medium. Do you do mediumship as well, or are you more psychic? And what is the difference?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh my gosh. So I would call her a medium too. I guess you could say psychic medium for both of us. But that's something interesting. So when we first started out with PairONormal Girls, and when we were starting investigating with people's teams, they did not know Jenny as a medium back then, because I didn't know to call myself that, even just a couple of years ago. I mean, I knew like what I saw, but I just didn't think I was like a medium per se, because to me, I had watched TV shows, and it seems like a medium, at least in my head, was someone who saw spirits all the time, heard whole conversations, you know, and you know what?
That's how we all view it.
But I have, and that's and it's funny because as, sorry, I gotta restart myself. I had to basically learn through a lot of friends that I made. You know, I'm in what couple of psychic groups, you know, where we're all psychics and stuff like that. And I learned that they're all like me. I don't see everything that's out there. I would maybe see, if there's 100 spirits and entities out there, I'm probably seeing maybe 10. So there's like, a lot of that I'm missing, but I can feel it. But that doesn't mean I'm picking it up all the time either. It's actually not, most mediums don't see everything all the time. And when we see stuff, again, here's the thing, they think we're seeing a spirit as they looked. People, depending on how their brain works and how their personalities are and stuff like that, they will see, most of the time it's like an outline is what you're seeing. Sometimes they'll become a little bit more like, some people pick up, like I have a psychic friend who picks up hair, like their hairstyle and their hair color, which is really
That's just how her
strange.
brain
Yeah,
works.
just that's something that's pointed out to her. To me, it's more outlines and stuff. And then every now and then I'll be doing a reading, And I will rarely have someone come in like full blown, like in color, almost looks quite like not see-through, they're very opaque and stuff like that. And then let's go about hearing things. Okay. So
before we go on, is anything here with us now?
I'm not picking up anything. What are you? Are you?
No. But it's also hard to tell because of all the electricity and equipment in here.
So
that
this
can
stuff's
really affect
protecting
that.
me right now?
Not just affecting that, it can kind of like place a curtain over anything.
So it might be in here and you just can't see it?
And we're not really concentrating on it either. I think I would pick up at least the feel if something was in here. I'm definitely not picking that up.
All right. Let's just leave it at that. We're good. We're good.
Okay. So going on to hearing stuff again, and other things I thought they heard everything things say. No, most mediums hear voices in their head, and it's their own voice talking. So if I'm giving a reading, like I just did last night to someone, I would pick up a word like a flower, and that I have to put that one word, which is in my own voice, and I have to put that into sentences. Like, so I take that one word that I heard, and then I kind of like feel what was the connotation of it. Like I picked up, it was not like a flower, it was more like a painting or a sculpture that was important. And so I have to
It's kind of like playing detective.
Yeah, it's a lot of doing that. And how did I learn that I was actually hearing someone's voice and that wasn't my own, because it's the same voice in my head, right? It was a lot of going to places and on investigations and
trusting it.
Well, no, I was write stuff down. So we'd get someplace and I'd be writing in a little notebook, or I'd reach over to her and whisper in her ear, I am picking this up. Let's see what happens later on. And almost every single time it would be found out that, I was picking that up. I was picking up the sex of, the spirit, why they were possibly there, what was going on and stuff. And so then I started learning, well, so can I hear him? Or and then I learned, I think right now I'm thinking up here front of my head. Spirits, I hear more on the right side of my brain.
When you think on the left front, so that's the analytical.
I guess I don't even know how the brain's structured. I just know that's where I am.
The left front is kind of the analytical, conscious thought, and the right back could be
your subconscious,
really?
Artistic side.
Yeah, and
kind
that's
of the creative where detective work would be done.
Yeah, and so it's nerve-wracking to me to give readings, because I'm always like, am I just making that up? Or am I really hearing something? And I've not been wrong for the most part, but I do know that, so when I'm given a reading, usually there's a couple questions I'm going to ask of the spirit that I'm trying to reach right off the bat. Like, how did you pass away? What did you do for a living? Maybe how did you like to spend your spare time? I'm trying to pick up, or did you have any health issues, things like that. I'm trying to pick up things that I can ask the person and say, did they pass away this way? And once I get two things right, and usually it's the first two things, then I'm like, okay, I know I've got the connection. I'm hearing things right. I'm good to go.
This isn't just my voice.
Exactly. So when people, it's really hard because psychic mediums or psychics get such a rap out there, and it's deservedly so. There are so many fakes out there. They are going through your Facebook, and they're going to pick up people who possibly died. They're going to be Googling your name and seeing what comes up with it. There are some they ask very leading questions, and so it's very generic answers.
You have a woman
with you.
Passed away.
Yeah. And so the person so wanting that connection will give information away freely. And so, it sucks. And so I try to make sure, that's one of my biggest fears, is making sure that no one ever thinks that of me, that, my readings are right on. The only thing I get nervous with is names. I am not the best with names. It used to be 50-50, but I think it's gone up to about 70% of the time I get names right, and 30% of the times I get names wrong. So that's how it works with me. So mediumship, people think, oh, it's so scary and mysterious. And I'm like, it's a lot of listening to yourself and things.
So we've got a question.
Yes.
So are ghosts, or the types of ghosts that tend to manifest, are they, like, for instance, are there good ones that you commonly find around, holidays that are like Valentine's or whatever? And then is it more common to have more menacing or bad ghosts around holidays like Halloween and things?
I'm gonna let you answer that, and then I can add to it. Go ahead, since you haven't had a chance to talk that much yet.
So I think that it's just the same. There's no more good spirits around Valentine's Day or Easter, and there's no more bad spirits around Halloween, just because if
So
they're
there's
here,
not
they're
a
always here.
Samhain
Portal
veil.
doesn't open?
No.
Okay.
If they're here, then they're
Is there a
gonna be
portal
here.
that opened the beginning of this year that you ladies are aware of?
You know
And
what?
how do
That's
we
what's
close
funny.
it?
No, oh my gosh. So that's funny. And people are like, well, you're psychic mediums. Didn't you see this coming? All of my friends and me, we saw nothing like this coming. We just knew 2020 was going to be a very different year. And we were all excited because we were just like, we need different. We need good.
Are you still excited?
No. No one is. And it's so funny is because, I guess some people may have picked it up, but for the most part, you're not expecting that to kind of happen. So you're not really like looking, could this possibly happen?
Yeah.
I know from now on, a lot of us will be looking more carefully at the energy that we're picking up for the coming years.
Yeah.
Is transformative energy
Yeah, exactly.
good transformative?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good thing. Like so they asked, like, let's talk about the different kinds of ghosts, spirits, other things that are out there. You know what I mean? So that we can kind of have some same vocabulary words, if you don't mind. So I'm going to use ghosts and spirits kind of simultaneously. I know that some people would use more as spirit as something that is more will respond to you, interact with you, and maybe ghost is more like a memory. Okay. But those memory things is what we'd like to call something residual. The earth is full of different things that can record memory. A lot of it, if you look up the stone tape theory, is the different types of stone that it's in earth. And when you have something like the Civil War battles that went on in Gettysburg and stuff like that, those grounds are famously haunted, but it's not very intelligently haunted. It's mostly like memories of the battles playing over and over again, because when you're fighting those battles, there's so much emotion being released on both sides. And it was something that was it meant a lot to the families who were fighting. No matter what side they were, they thought that it was the right side, and it was very important to them. So, so we're talking about the different types of spirits. When you get into spirit itself, we're going to call spirit anything that was probably human. For what we're going to call like it.
So
like
the
they
ghost
are
is
human.
now I've been to Gettysburg. I imagine if you ladies went there, it'd probably be pretty chaotic.
Probably. I would love to though.
I have no perception, none at all.
Mm-hmm.
Ghosts could
kicking
walk
rocks.
through me, whatever. I wouldn't recognize it. I feel nothing. But Gettysburg was impactful, but also I like history.
He's a total history nerd.
Yeah.
So, that's why it was impactful, looking out across Cemetery Hill and what have you. So I imagine going there would be pretty
Dramatic.
heavy. Mm-hmm. But, so the ghosts are...
She's going to use ghosts and spirits in the same way.
Yeah, but ghosts are the I don't know, we'll call it tactile memory of events or emotions.
Yes.
And spirits are... kind of a thinking separate entity.
Yeah, I'm going to say that. That's a really good thing.
Okay.
People that just don't have a physical body. So they can hold a conversation.
And so, and then when we talk about spirits themselves, so when we talk about like what does crossing over mean? Like people want to know, like, aren't they already dead? They're crossed over, right? They're on the other side. I would call it, so this earth is, it's almost like there's like an overlay over the earth of, okay, we're going to call the other side more like the astral plane. And on the astral plane, there are several levels. And the first level we're going to say is earth. And then with an overlay of the astral planes on it. And so we're going to call the first layer the one that's more the earth layer, you know, and the spirits that are mostly there have not crossed over up into the higher planes, the higher realms and stuff like that. And why? So that begs the question, why don't things cross over all the way? Why are they still here? You know, why are they? Oh, that's a heavy question. There are so many reasons why, you know, some people say, well, they have unfinished business, but that unfinished business can mean so many different things. Sometimes it's they died traumatically and did not realize they had died. And they get over to the other side and they're like, why are people not responding to me anymore? You know, and they tend to go a little insane, like mentally. They can go through some trauma that way. And so therefore they're not thinking the way they should. And so they don't see things as they should. And then other spirits are there because maybe they weren't ready to leave family, or there's something like they're thinking, if I leave, there's no one who's going to be well to watch over it.
Like ghosts, like the pottery.
Yeah.
And then the emotion.
Yeah.
I know last week I mentioned a lot about kicking the can in the subway. I don't know if anyone caught on to that.
No.
It's really the only ghost movie he knows.
On Ghost, remember he meets the ghost that can affect the mortal
Yeah.
plane using emotion, and he teaches him how to kick a can on a subway.
Yes.
I know exactly
And that's
what you're
actually,
referring
that's
to.
funny because it really is how things kind of work on the other side. So we're energy. And so when we pass away, we're still energy. We've just left our energetic body behind, but we're still energy. And people are like, well, how is the other side? I'm like, it's just like it is here. It's energy. They can read books, you know what I mean? Like, so it's fine because people are like, well, maybe they left something undone. And I once had someone who tell me, Jen, I picked up this spirit and I picked him up at a prison and he really wants me to write a book. He wants me to channel and then write a book for him. And she goes, but I don't want him to be around me anymore. I'm moving. I just don't want him around my kids. You know, he's kind of a little negative. And I said, why did you think you needed to write his book for him? And I said, you need to explain to this spirit that they can go write their own darn book. It's just not written like with pen and ink. You know what I mean? It's thought over there. Everything is controlled by thought. And so he can accomplish, it just doesn't mean that.
So she got possessed by a ghost in a prison?
Yes, basically. And
You just glazed over the important part of that
I
story.
know. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. I just don't
She
know
goes
much
on
more.
a prison tour. I'm checking out Alcatraz today.
Yes.
And then the Birdman jumps on her, and next thing you know, she's cruising around with this evil bastard on her back.
And he wants to write
And
a
she
book.
felt bad for him, though. She goes, yeah, I know he's bad, but I feel so guilty for him.
That's
Because
how
no
the-
one would listen to
How'd I
him.
get you?
That's how the women sign up for that www.findmeaninmatelove.com.
Yes. That's how they get
You know, and that goes to say another thing. Like people say, hey, when we go to investigations and we turn on a spirit box or whatever, and a spirit might say, hey, Mary, you know, you need to do this. And I'm like, I always tell people, just because a spirit says you need to do that doesn't mean that you need to do it. Because guess what? They are not all truth over there on the other side. This is your life. You lead it how you want to lead it, and do not let anything ever influence you.
If a
You might
spirit
just say
box
thanks
ever
for
said-
letting me know, but no, don't do what they say. This is your life.
If I ever had a spirit box and it ever said, hey, Jared, I'm not hearing the rest over my footfalls running down the street. I'm done.
Yeah.
So tell
Yeah.
me, do we have a tribe, so to speak, when we cross over? Are there people like a tribe that help us?
Yes. And sometimes we're just not seeing that for whatever reason, or we just want to ignore them and we kind of like say, I'm not ready for that, or for whatever reason. Like some people don't cross because they were not very nice men in this life, and they might have grown up in some sort of like religion, and so they knew what they were doing wrong and they thought they were going to go to hell. That is one of our number one cause of hauntings of
So
human
it's a bad guy
spirits.
stuck over because
Yes.
he was a bad guy and he's afraid if he goes into the
And now
light.
he's not
Yeah.
got any more time to fix it.
Yeah, well, not only that, though, and they don't want to fix it. They were bad in life, and guess what? They drew power over people in life, and they're going to draw power over people in death. So they're going to be your negative haunting ones that we're going to call them. They're the ones that are going to be like trying to...
I'd hope that was different. I had hoped that like people like Ted Bundy would be like, "Come, you're better now. Let's fix this." What if he's
not
just a
until
shithead still?
no, they're usually kind of like that for the most part. I mean, it takes a longer process. It really takes a very long, slow process with them to even realize why they shouldn't be doing it. But they don't. They're like, I'm not going to cross because I'm going to go to hell. So I'm going to stay here on the earthbound. I'm going to haunt someone's house, and I'm going to make life miserable for them.
Great.
And that's the majority of our, like, we're going to say human hauntings.
They have nothing better to do with their time. So
and only that,
why not go mess with someone?
So their energy, and so they need to build up energy to feed off of, to build that energy. And so they're, what are some emotions that give off the most energy? Love. Anger. Negativity, anger. And so they do that. They cause fear and anger in households so that they can feed that energy, and they feel like they're getting so strong and powerful on the other side. And so we have to go in, and we usually give them a choice. Sometimes we just tell them, depending on how we feel about it, but we're like, you need to move on. You need to leave this family alone, and you need to cross all the way. And if we feel like they're holding back because they feel like they're going to hell, and this is where I almost don't want to talk too much because it's very complicated and it's so hard to put in words here just for like a podcast real quick. But it's almost like how do I cross spirits? I'm using truths that I have learned via being a medium and reading energy. And I tell them, you know what? There really is no hell.
I was going to ask that.
It's karma, though, that you have to fix. And you have to pay out. So it's not like there's fire and brimstone over there, but there is that karma that they have to work out. And it's very complicated on how it gets worked out because it goes by a case-by-case basis. But some of them might have to go and make amends to the family somehow by either like watching over, family members that are left, they're still alive, being a kind of a guide in a way. But it's not that easy for him. I hate to say it, but you're just thinking, like Ted Bundy, he's getting away with stuff because he murdered people over there. But come on, if he's going to murder that many people, the chances are he's very much living, like I guess you call it a spirit hell in a way. It will come back and bite him eventually. What you put out in the world times 3 comes back to you.
Resurrection, yes or no?
What do you mean?
Spirits,
rebirth.
Are they rebirth, reborn?
Resurrection,
can he come back as
here
like a
in
slug?
Utah. Well, okay, so it depends on if people believe in what do you call it, reincarnation. I think humans reincarnate as humans. You know what I mean? But we don't always reincarnate on Earth. We can reincarnate on other intelligent planets. So
aliens.
Oh my gosh, guys. So that is the one I study a whole heck of a lot about aliens, but I refuse to investigate them. Why? Because I can control spirits. I can control other entities. There's entities are anything we're going to call non-human. Like they're just multidimensional, not from this earth space, whatever. I can control them for the most part, meaning like I can push them away if I want to, get rid of them. Aliens, they're freaking flesh and blood.
So you don't know what to do about Gleep Glorp?
Well, yeah, but only that, though. There's so many different species of aliens. How do you know if you ever saw one or ran up against one that it's not one that's going to kidnap you, do those experiments, or if it's one that's going to be kind of just like, hey, how's it going? Whatever it is. I don't know, so I'm going to stay the freak away from them.
You got to be up on your Kegel foo. Oh, always be ready.
And what's funny is I didn't believe in aliens until just about 2 years ago. We went to Ely, Nevada. Ely, Nevada. We were there doing some things, investigating, and a guy takes us out to this old cemetery out by a mine. And he was like, so what do you feel off of this place? Do you sense any spirits? So I'm like, I'm not getting anything tonight from here. I couldn't pick up any spirits there at the cemetery, whatever else like that. And it was just, we weren't even getting anything interacting on the equipment. And as we were kind of leave, he goes, well, what do you think? Is there anything else you could describe it? And I go, this is going to be very strange to you. And I said, and I don't even know how I would know this because I have nothing to back it up to. But in my, just in my psychic sense, I said, the only thing I feel is like an alien imprint over this town. And he goes, well, Jen, do you not know like the true like the true history of Ely, Nevada? I'm like, no. And he goes, we had a couple of alien crashes here. There was one where I guess there was, how many was it that crashed? Was it 13 or 18? Like, and on the ship.
Oh, so there was 17, and what had happened was the ship crashed, and it even tore up the new railroad tracks that they just put down. So all that steel and wood, like, it was torn up to the point where some of it was up and some of it was down into the ground. And what had happened was it crash landed on some farm, and he hurried and took a picture real quick. And then within, I think it was 3 minutes, all these military helicopters and police vehicles, they all just swarmed in within minutes. And they started taking helicopters and taking the parts actually over to Hill Air Force Base in Utah. And Hill Air Force Base is just really crazy in general because it goes 18 stories into the ground. And from what we know at Hill Air Force Base, from public knowledge, they have 236 nuclear bombs or weapons 18 stories under the ground at Hill Air Force Base. And they're active. They can be used at any time. And so they took all those parts over to Hill Air Force Base. And
But what they tell the town, so they had some surviving aliens who had survived, and they said that they transported them up through Wendover, and then from Wendover, they didn't know if they were going towards Hill Air Force Base or if they were going elsewhere. But Area 52 is supposedly rumored at the Dugway Proving Grounds. And I kind of find that really, that really important because
Jared lived out there for a while.
Well, yeah, and you know there's is it Mercury Cemetery that's out there? Mercury Cemetery is out there, and it's supposedly where people they go to watch, not only to ghost investigate and to cryptid investigate, but they also go to watch, aliens or whatever else like that.
Well,
but
the Mercury Cemetery's down here. There is a cemetery out there. We can take you to the Mercury Cemetery.
No, we go to Mercury a couple of times a year.
But they go to Mercury to watch it because it's kind of up on the hill. Because you have to climb up the hill to get to it. So you can watch over. So you can watch over the whole valley.
Yeah, but going on with that story, so they had a couple that, they were living, they sent them, but the town, the military came in and they kind of bought them all out and said, if you mention anything, if you print any newspapers, so they didn't print a newspaper the day after. There's only 2 days, and that whole town's microfiche system where 2 days are missing on news. And it was the day of the first crash and the day of the second crash. And they said that there's still, they know people, we were talking to people who says that they know old timers, who are still just, 90 years old or whatever, that still refused to talk about what had happened. They said that they were threatened financially. They were threatened in so many different ways if they talked. And so I was just like, wow. And that's so weird because I thought
you had no idea.
This is like an alien feel. And so after that, I came home and I started researching the heck out of aliens. At that point, I always thought, before then I thought was always undecided. But I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go out. And so now I 100% truly believe in it, in that stuff. It's crazy.
I think I was the same way when we first started doing the podcast. I was like, I'm not really discrediting it, but I really haven't studied it. Now, there's no way there couldn't be.
Exactly.
There's absolutely no way there couldn't be other intelligent life out there.
And we're hearing new news stories almost weekly how the military admits they're releasing things that have been there's so many things coming out there now. And it's almost like the world. Oh, here's my fun one that I always laugh, and she likes to tell us one too. So when President Trump was elected, he wanted, before his election, he never talked about Space Force or anything else like that. But when you get elected,
as soon as he was elected, maybe I think it was 3
right after
days,
he was briefed, probably.
He said on Twitter, "I have learned
Space Force.
I have learned some very shocking things that I didn't think were true." And then 2 days after he tweeted that, Space Force. Why do we need a Space Force to protect space? What from example, China or other countries? What are they going to try to do? Blow up our satellites that they use as well? Or to protect us from something else? And now that it's a 6th branch of the military and they officially have a logo, what is the whole point of having it if there's nothing to protect us from?
That or Project Bluebeam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's a story. I would have to... I'd love to come out another time and talk
Oh,
to you
yeah.
about all the different entities that I've learned about, all the different type of aliens, who usually
Yes.
does what type of activity, what type of ships do they normally disappear. I went down a deep rabbit hole.
All right. Well, we'll have to schedule
That'll
another
have to be
time.
a whole nother show.
Oh, yes.
I have a cousin who I think is quite
Alien?
psychic. Not alien, but she could be. Quite psychic. She's actually experienced a couple of things where I've been present, but she often smells. For instance,
It's called clairgustance.
so she smells.
She's Clara Augustin.
Yeah.
She smells things and then senses, spirits around. That's an actual.
Yeah, so in the psychic gift of mediumship, or even just in psychics, there's the 5 senses that we're going to call. Just kind of like the 5 senses we have, and thing. There is, oh my gosh, can you look it up just so I don't
Yeah, I
mess it up?
actually have it on a picture on my phone.
Okay, will you go ahead and talk? Sorry, I get
So you have
nervous
touch.
and I don't want to
Forgetful.
miss. So yeah, but there's names for it, and then that's
Oh.
how some psychics so my main gift I'm gonna say is, yes, I'm a psychic medium, but everything is done through my empath side, meaning I can feel, my strongest point is feeling how spirits felt, how they're feeling currently, things like that. My empath gift comes in really strong right there. Now, it's funny is because there's some mediums who can go out there and their gift is on relationships, or their gift is on they can read other people. That's always been my main thing is so say you wanted to come to me for a reading and you wanted me to tell about you, what I picked up from you. I'm like, but my thing is don't you already know about yourself? Why spend money when you already know about yourself? Don't you want me to say things maybe that you don't know or something?
Tell me
That's
what my
always been my
favorite
pet
book
peeve.
is.
Why do you need validation about what you already know about yourself?
But some people do that, though. They're really good at going up into people's life and saying, you've got this going on right now, don't you? Not so much with me. That's not one of my best parts. But did you find it?
No, I couldn't find it.
Oh my gosh. Just
Must have
Google
deleted
Tyler.
it.
Okay. But so go ahead and talk about...
So
Well, we got a few questions rolling.
yeah, let's go.
Let's do it.
Real quick. And I'll look that up real quick.
So, where are we at? Cody had a good one in here. What was the most terrifying experience you've had?
Okay.
You go first.
So for me, we were actually doing a house case.
how old? First of all, because
This
I'm a little disturbed.
This was
that
7 months
you-
ago. This
that
was 7
started-
months ago.
So you were
This started with you
17.
when you were so young, and you were
Yeah.
just like, dude sits and reads with me. No, listen, kids.
And see, with my gift,
Tell
it's
a
very
parent.
different. It's very different than hers. So it was a lot of learning about,
Yes.
learning on my own, because she's more senses, I'm more sees and hears. So it was really, she was like, you're on your own, basically.
I got
type
nothing.
thing.
Yeah.
So we read a house case in West Jordan. Was it? Yeah, West Jordan. And it was this very sweet single mother, and she had her 15-year-old daughter, and then their baby was 1 year old.
Yeah.
And so they called us to their house because they were having some weird activity, and they said it felt a little darker. And right when we saw a picture of the place, we knew, okay, this was something we needed to prepare for. So we go there.
So you saw a picture of the place?
Yeah, and you
So
can
we
just
call it
feel the
Center.
photo
energy.
reading.
Yeah.
We're both very good at photo reading. So that's actually our first line of when someone tells us, look,
Ooh, that
I
gives me the
think
chills.
Yeah.
my house might be haunted. They can tell me the activity, but the first thing I'm going to tell them is go outside, and I want a picture of your front of the house, and I want a picture of the back of the house, because it's almost like I can feel exactly where that activity is at in a house, and possibly what type of haunting we're dealing with.
It's almost like if you looked at a picture of a really random cabin in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, that feels weird. Like, that's not a good feeling.
I
It's
see, I
like
see.
that.
Kind of like
yeah.
intuition.
Yeah. So they sent us a picture, and we were like, okay, this is something we need to prepare for. I always say prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and normally the best happens. So we go there, and, they're really nice. We start talking with them, and they said most of the activity was in the mom's bedroom, which is the back of the apartment, in their walk-in closet, where they keep also the baby's nursery and everything. So they walk us through, and we started in the living room, and we started off talking to their family and any spirit guides. We try to start everything on a positive note so we can raise that positive energy, so it's harder for the negative to work. So we're doing everything. And then finally, we're like, okay, we need to get started. So she takes some holy water and splashes just a tiny bit on the window because they're very Catholic. So we wanted to work with what they're most comfortable with.
I was trying to set up a safe room, basically, for where the mother could be, or the baby, if she felt things got too heavy while we're working in the back room.
Yeah.
She did not know I had holy water at that time is what I was doing. We just told her, I'm going to set up a safe area for you guys while me and Mary do that. And so if you ever feel like it's getting too heavy or too hard, you can come out here to the front room and be comfortable.
So she's facing the window, and she splashes the tiniest amount of holy water on the window. In that exact moment that water hit the window, and by the way, this is holy water blessed by the Pope himself. So it's very hard to get. Anyways, so she splashes the tiniest amount on the window, and I see this entity, really tall, all black, with, it was almost like glowing, like yellow white eyes, come down the hallway and jump into the mom. And immediately she's down on the ground, screaming, crying, her back hurts. She's saying all these weird things, and we didn't expect anything like that to happen. That was so out of the blue. It jumped into her. We both looked at each other like,
we were frozen.
What do we
Literally,
do?
For about 5 seconds, we both looked at each other like, oh my God.
Like, what just
we
happened?
Were also going, you know what I mean? Like, like
now what?
swearing,
Okay,
what do we
breathe.
do? Like, that did not just happen. How did that just happen?
Like, there is a buildup. There was no buildup.
Now, did this lady move into the house with the thing there?
So it's an apartment complex, and it was fairly recently built. So we didn't have time to even really interrogate the spirit.
Followed her, or
we didn't have time to even interrogate the spirit.
How'd you get rid of it?
So she went to go put holy water on the lady's back, and it burnt her back. And she has a scar to this day, right, where the holy water touched her back. Yeah. We ended up very carefully having to...
I had to put this was a 2-part process. Is when she was screaming and we figured out what was causing it, I was panicking myself because I'm like, that happened so quickly. So I was putting my hand on her back as she's laying on the floor just sobbing and screaming. And I was pouring everything I knew of light and good into her, hoping that that's going to push that entity out of her without trying to aggravate it, making it worse. And in the meantime, Mary's just standing there frozen. And then finally,
So we ended up having to force the spirit into a battery. And how we would do that is we would take all our energy and imagine a box, like building a box around the spirit and slowly making it smaller to the point where it has nowhere to go except for where we want it to go.
So right now there's a battery.
So we had a dead battery
in a junkyard with a evil eye demon.
What did you do with the battery?
No,
so we actually
salt flats.
Yeah, so we actually, as we were driving home, we took a detour and we buried it in the salt flats. And we digged probably like a foot into the ground, and then we threw the battery in there.
A lot of our negative entities that we have to remove that won't go, we often put them in an object. Usually it's like a crystal or something, but we had nothing of that night.
We didn't expect it.
We were planning on using Catholic cleansing methods because that's how she had asked us to, even though we use different style of cleansing methods according to, 1, the spirit's religion, and 2, the family's religion or their thoughts. And the only thing we thought is what can we put this thing in so that we can remove it from our house without her losing something, And we happened to use up a dead battery, and I'm like, you know what? We're going to do this off the fly of our pants. Stuck it in the battery. We take things out to the salt flats a lot, and there's a reason why. Salt is very protective. Like they see on like Supernatural, the Winchesters are always using a salt line and stuff. Salt's very protective, and it's very encasing, and so we take stuff out to the salt flats. We're very lucky to have them there to be able to do that. So
what happens in
Jared,
10 years?
You work at a salt plant. You are covered in protection.
What happens if in 10 years some kid's out there rooting around in the salt?
Look what I found!
And he digs up the demon.
It's not going to happen. It's out there in the desert.
Okay.
But, people like, why is Utah so haunted? Why are there so many episodes of all these paranormal shows that have Utah-based, a background? Yeah. There's a reason why. Earth has its like energy lines and stuff like that. Utah, we're going to call them ley lines. Utah has more ley lines and it's almost like a star, and it kind of like spreads out like it's in a cup. And we have more ley lines than anywhere else in the world, more than Stonehenge, more than the pyramids, more than. And I think it's because my thought is it's because old Lake Bonneville, you know, had all that life and stuff back then, and it's kind of evaporated and it's created that salt, and that salt is going to draw things to Utah. You know what I mean? Even if it's negative, you know, it's almost like everyone wants a piece of the pie or whatever. It's really strange, but yeah, look up Utah's ley lines, and
See, I've
it's
looked at
amazing,
the
and it's
ley
clear out
lines.
there, like out in Salt Lake, like clear out there in the
Great Salt Lake.
the Great Salt Lake and stuff. So it's crazy. And you know what? The other thing is Twila is on a ley line.
Twila
We
is?
do a lot of haunted
There's
locations.
a house for sale, folks.
We do a lot of haunted locations in Twila. A lot of families that are actually negatively haunted in Twila.
Well, I have at one time, I went to a house, and this is me, Captain No Perception, felt something from a closet.
Yeah.
When you don't normally feel something, the fact that you're picking up something, think of how much energy it has to be putting out for you to have even picked that up.
It
Because
freaked
it's
me
not
out.
something you normally pick up.
And the person who lived at the house had a lot of issues, and maybe it comes from that.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the different kinds of gifts.
Okay. Well, real quick though, we'll get right there. So sorry, but they were asking her what's our toughest case. Is that
Your
what they
scariest.
said?
Scariest.
That was for her. Mine was
You
bad.
saw the monster come down the hallway and jump into the
mine
lady.
I
was
did.
so
And
much
that
worse.
doesn't-
She was facing
Mine
the
is
window.
actually
you
going to
didn't see
be.
it. Okay.
I actually have a story that's going to. I have a whole chapter in a book that's going to be written about my story. It happened when I was newlywed. We were living in Ogden, Utah, on insanely haunted 25th Street. Long story short, but we basically, me and my husband lived with a demonic haunting, not just one or two, but I mean, it was two demonic beings that lived in our apartment with us for 5 years. We couldn't get rid of it no matter what. It was scary. It's going to be in a whole chapter in a book. I'm so excited. And they're actually thinking about just writing a whole book on the case. I
Did
don't
they
have the best
come
memory.
with you, or were they there?
Oh, so no,
she
they were
decided-
there.
We moved. So
Oh,
they
yeah.
dealt with this negative haunting for 5 years, and then she got pregnant with me, and they decided,
Mm-hmm.
let's move 3 blocks away to a house.
Yeah, I was worried. We were having a hard time finding houses, and I was pregnant with her, and I didn't want her being born in that apartment and going there. But we couldn't find a house within our price range. But we did find one 3 blocks away, and that was one of my biggest fears, is if when we move,
Did
it's
it
only 3
follow?
blocks away, is this thing going to be able to follow? Well, it does come and checks by our house every now and then, almost like kind of like checking in on us, but it cannot get inside the new house. It can go up and down the driveway.
It comes whistling down the street
Yeah,
like an old
sometimes.
man with scary
Yeah.
teeth, and
And it's because that was a demonic haunting, and it's gone to the point with all of our cases. Demonic hauntings are scary as crap. They're very
have
intense.
you gone back to that apartment since?
And
Well,
no,
we
and
drive
I've
by
got
it every day.
Yeah, we drive by it every day. But here's the thing: is we actually we've just dealt with some cases where it's been more what we call the shadow man or hat man. There's not exactly a name for it.
The man
species.
off of Poltergeist too that whistles. Is
So everyone says he's like they're super tall. They usually have red eyes. Looks like he's wearing like a cowboy hat or whatever and like a cloak. He is what I call a multi-dimensional entity. It's not just him. I'd say his kind, and they all seem to look the same. And how do they differ from the demonic? The demonic, like I said, are hard. They're intense. They'll make you sick to your stomach.
What is
They
a
are
demon
scary. So a
versus a
demon,
ghost?
you know what? I really am going to have a hard time saying that because there's so many different beliefs on it. But I'm going to say that
Were they ever human?
no. Well, they're human, but I don't. I really am having a hard time doing that.
So the LDS
explaining
faith,
it.
So the LDS faith believes that demons are, so when we were supposedly up in heaven and they took that vote, like who wants to go down to earth or whatnot, there was 1/3 that decided they didn't want to and they wanted to be with Lucifer. And the LDS faith kind of teaches that's what demons are. They were the 1/3. They never got a body and they decided to follow Lucifer instead.
But
of
they were
Jesus.
spirits
But with
just
demonic,
like us.
okay, but with demonics, so I really don't know for myself. Like, I'm still trying to put that
Well, you
in
got
place.
Jinn with
Yeah,
with Islam.
exactly. Jinn is what I'm gonna call also the shadow men.
They're
Same species.
They're
And I
being
can't
made
believe you
of
actually
smoke
knew
and
that.
fire.
But I can't believe you actually know jinn, because it's a word that a lot of people don't. Shadow men are supposedly from the same species of them. And I'd rather deal with the demonic haunting any day than deal with the shadow man haunting. Just because shadow man hauntings, demonic, it's like I could go on one and done in a way. Unless there's some trauma with the family that we have to work out and work with them mentally and spiritually and whatnot. They're scary. They can hurt you. I think demonic, they're the ones that they can scratch you. They can, on my haunting story, I knew it could hurt me without, before I didn't believe that could happen. I thought, no, they don't have bodies, whatever, they can't hurt you. No, demonic I know can hurt you. Shadow men don't tend to hurt you as much as they just make your life a living hell by, they're so scary. They're tall, they're menacing, they're over you all the time. They're just kind of scary in a different way, but they're notoriously hard to remove. Notoriously. Like, we've been working on a house case with Sarah, and it's the only house case where we have not been able to find a resolve for it yet. And we've brought in so many different people, because we even put our pride out there and we said, you know what, we're going to do what's best for the homeowner. And so many people have come in and they have failed, and it's because it's got a very strong shadow man jinn there. And maybe we need to bring in an Islamic priest or something. I don't know, but I'd almost rather deal with the demonic than this, because they're so hard to get rid of. With these things, you are throwing everything you've got at. You're going to try Catholic. You're going to use,
Where's this home at?
You're going to use shamanic. Sugar house. You're going to use shamanic. You're going to use light work. You're going to use sage. Well, I wouldn't say staging, but Hollywood, Wiccan means. You're throwing it.
How big is this house?
It's like a split level, but it's
A split level, so you think like
it's like an average size house.
3/6 of dynamite, maybe.
I don't know.
Spread it around.
Well, here's the thing: this family is moving. The haunting is so severe, they are moving. They are no longer spending the night there. Oh. That is how bad it is.
So a shadow.
Is this the one that Sarah said that we can all talk about? So let's dig into that for a minute, because I do want to get to the equipment you brought.
Oh yeah, I just brought a couple, but
yeah.
How about you talk a little bit for a sec?
Tell us. Yeah, let's hear about this house.
Yeah, and I need to understand.
Okay.
Yes.
Like, what's the difference? How do you know if you're dealing with a demon versus a shadow man or a djinn?
Okay.
So most of the time with the demon, you can feel that darkness. Like most of the time, they see like red eyes, and they physically have harmed you. They've physically done something to you. Some people, you get pushed down the stairs, or
psychically they feel different. I think you just need to bring a medium in to kind of to find out. That's something where a medium's going to make a big
kind of determine what this energy feels like.
But this house case is just so sorry. One sec. This house case is just so complicated that it's been a long process. We've been working on it for months. The initial call when he contacted me, he just says, "Hey Jen, I was on your Facebook group. By the way, we run a group for Utah, haunted Utah stories and experiences." Ooh. And it's great. It's growing so fast, and it's where people can come in and just share their experiences of hauntings or places that they've been that they felt that there was a haunting, or they can even ask questions like, "So has anyone ever felt like this at this location?" It's kind of a really cool thing. It's been fun to work with. But he said, "I noticed a comment on one of your stories, and I felt like I needed to reach out to you." And he says, "I am having." Where his biggest complaints were, he was seeing his first off was he had a wife at the time, or it's an ex-wife now. He had a wife, and the wife was run off. And he said how she was run off was that there was a spirit there, like a shadow-like person, and whenever she was there at the home, she'd almost be bombarded by like a running commentary of very inappropriate sexual comments to her, and then it started happening with this teenage daughter. Yeah. And so that was his one. So he says, "I'm seeing shadow figures." He goes, "We're hearing yelling like actual literal yelling in the middle of the night, lots of bumps, thumps, all sorts of stuff. And he goes, now I brought in a team before, and he goes, they saged, and then they said it was good, but it almost got
It's
worse.
not.
And here's the thing, people, never sage your home. Don't do it. If you suspect there's a haunting there and you do not know how to use sage, or even if you try to Google it, sometimes when you use sage at a haunting, it can piss them off because the entity is so much more stronger than the sage. Now you're just going to piss it off. It's
Or
like,
another reason why, so sage, the whole point of sage is it clears out all energy. All energy. So that means all negative and positive energy. So if you clear out all energy and you don't build up that positive energy fast enough, that's just like leaving your door open with signs all over your front yard saying, come in and take anything. You can come in here. You can
So
live
you're
in
making
here.
the
I don't
vacuum.
care. Yeah. So they can
Yeah.
walk right back in and they're going to be more pissed off because you tried to get rid of them, but you failed. So now they're going to make your life worse.
yeah. So that was our first thing. So we go in there. And, you know, it took us a while to figure out there was 2 different entities there. One, we're going to say the actual shadow man djinn, and the other one was a human spirit, but was very much a shadow form, you know. And he was one that was like, we're going to call him the pervert, the one that just totally assaults women who go there. I mean, we watched it happen to us. We'd go in there like, oh my gosh, yeah, you saw right. When we first pulled up, it was so heavy. Like, you could just feel it emanating from the street of this house. But, I need to go back. This is a really important story. I asked him, send me a picture of your house. You know, let me see what's going on here. And I got the picture of his house. And to me, it was like I could see an overlay of a spider web over the house. Like a dirty, filthy spider web. But each part of that web was not done by one, we're going to call entity, or one, you know, like spider. It was done by several different negative things. So each had their own part. And I thought, well, that's strange. We get to his house, and so spirits feed off of energy, especially electromagnetic energy, stuff that's created from different appliances, you know, old wiring and stuff. And he had caused this man who was in an oppression stage, okay, to basically build this spider web of cords and cables all throughout his house. I have never seen so many things plugged in, like in each outlet. So like in his bedroom where he said a lot of the haunting was at, so he had 3 like electrical things behind his bed. And so, you know, there's 2 plugs per each outlet. So he had the 3 outlets, and he had in each outlet a power strip on the top and a power strip on the bottom. So we're dealing with 6 power strips.
What the heck did he have plugged in there?
Everything and
Old
anything he
computers, TVs, you know, so much different stuff. And a lot
record
of
players he had never used before.
it was
things like
just,
that.
oh my gosh. And then downstairs, up above the ceiling, was just this spider web cable network of just everything. You couldn't even walk downstairs. Like, it was so, like, you couldn't even find somewhere to step.
So-
and I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Because that's what I felt on the picture, and that's what we got going here.
So you think the entity
Was
had
kind
him
of prompting
drawn
him to
to
do
plugging
this.
more
Yeah.
stuff in so he could feed
Yeah.
it?
Oh.
One of the first things we had him do, and we talked to him very much.
So
see,
what we need to do is find a Mennonite family to move in.
yeah,
Amish.
yeah, he
And that entity be
Starve 'em
pissed
out.
You know,
when he
Yeah.
got back, sawn, and the entity's like,
That-
I'm not getting enough.
There's a
and-
lot in Brigham
That-
City. You can
yeah,
go join them.
that first night,
Is there?
Yeah.
That first night we talked to him, and we told him, you know, he was also very obsessed with this haunting. So he was putting out tape recorders every night so that he could go back the next day. He didn't have a job. He
So he
was
could
a
listen?
vet.
Trying to
So he
validate.
could listen and validate himself every night, and then he'd watch hours and hours of video cam footage of, you know, his house security in each of the rooms. So he was very obsessive over this haunting.
Which
What
is
did
a
this guy
super-
do for
He was a
living?
war veteran, and he had PSD, so he was getting, I'm assuming, disability or whatnot.
So he had PTSD,
Yes, which always makes for a bad haunting
and
anyways.
he was a war veteran
Yes.
of these current wars
And being
I don't know
obsessed,
which one, yeah.
It was Iraq, I believe.
in the Middle East.
so being
And you're
obsessed with
thinking
this,
maybe a djinn?
Yeah, I think it's a djinn.
He might have brought that with
He
him.
might. Now, I
might
didn't even
need to-
place that together. Oh my
He
goodness.
might need to pull his kit, anything he brought with him, and
cleanse the
and
shit out of
get
that.
rid of
Well, here's the
anything
thing.
he brought back with
So
him.
he's moving with this house, so he's moving in the house. He refuses to take any furniture with him, any clothing,
He
any
needs
furniture.
to look through his military
Yeah, no,
kit.
you're
If
right.
you think it's a djinn,
Well, last time we were there, he had left everything on hangers, all his
Yeah, and he
military
had a
items,
couple
all
of
his
military-
well, you
coats.
got coins. That'd be a
Yeah,
big draw
he
for
left.
djinn.
They
Yeah.
left literally everything. They took their toiletries and maybe a week's worth of clothes, and they left. And they haven't been back since. They were telling us, if you guys want something, you can take it. Like, we don't care. It's just going. It's
But
just going.
I know.
We're just selling
But-
it with the house.
Yeah. But the thing is so that very night we talked to him about he had to stop putting recorders out to listen. He had to stop going over the footage. He needed to promise not to do that anymore. And then the next thing we told him is, you have to do this tomorrow. I said, I want in each outlet just one cord plugged in.
Or nothing.
You've got to go down to absolutely nothing, and you need to do that in every room of your house.
If you haven't used it in 3 days, then you need to unplug it. That's what we
And
told him.
and we tried. I don't remember which cleansing method we tried. No, it was holy water. The holy water
the first
routine.
time.
So we went and put holy water on all of his walls, making the cross, and then saying the St. Michael's prayer, whatever else he wanted to say. I said, you can say whatever you want that puts power back to you. And we did it on the ceilings, windows, every part of the house. And then, we kind of had just wanted to see where that would go at that point. And then he just kept saying it just feels so bad, come back. And we came back and we're like, oh my gosh, yes, it's still here. What the heck, And it would happen over and over. This thing, so here's the thing. Most spirits and entities are not very intelligent. So when we get there and we start investigating, they're always like, who's here? I'm like,
Yeah,
I want to know what's
nosy.
going on. These things are smart enough that we get there, these two entities, that they would scram. And so when we got there, we could feel that they were there. But it was hard to investigate because they would take off. And so it's extra hard to kind of cleanse it or, do whatever we need to do, because I think we learned that the reason why we're having the hardest part of cleansing it is because of his mental health. It's hard to cleanse something and keep it clean when he's just going to invite it back in mentally. Like I said, he's still very obsessed over this haunting, so he's thinking about it every day. So it makes it really hard to, like keep things clean for it. And, sometimes he
that
would think...
obsession is such a
But he was
low
right,
vibration.
though. We saw several times our first night there.
You stayed the night?
Well, I would say we were there till like 5 a.m. We
We were
left
there
and it
till
was
5
like,
a.m.
yeah.
every single time we were
And
there.
what
Yeah.
part of you stayed the night doesn't that include?
Well, we're just...
Some people can't
I'm
stay
going
that
to
I
late.
guess we just
investigate
didn't
from
sleep there.
11 to 11:15.
Well, it was really
a.m.
like 7 p.m. until
Yeah.
5 a.m.
But
That's the whole
that-
night.
that first night, I did notice like that... Oh my gosh, I just lost my point. I'm sorry. No, it took us quite a while, and that first night when we did that...
How many people were on your team?
Oh, that's what we're talking about.
It
So
was
thank you,
mainly
team member.
just-
It was me, Mary, Sarah, and then one other person that we brought in for this cleansing, because we knew it was going to be really hard. And so I have a full team. I don't even let my own team members come to cases that I think are going to be super negative, just because like I pick and choose from that who I think would best serve that
So like
house.
you're
That was my first time meeting Sarah, and something told me to just invite her and to trust her, like that. And we hit it off like
Sarah
right after
just said I slept there one night.
No,
Sarah.
yeah, no,
she did.
She slept there, but here's the thing: is that very
Crazy.
first night, one of my girls was in her room, and we were downstairs, and she was upstairs by herself, and she swears to gosh that I walked up the stairs and I came up there and was talking to her about stuff. I never...
So they can shapeshift.
Yes, this thing could shapeshift. And he said that he's noticed shapeshifting. And so we were able to validate for him. We saw several times where we actually saw like the human spirit. He would like come walking down the hallway also sneakily, and you'd see him peer like that around the corner. And if we noticed, he'd hurry up and jerk back, you know what I mean? And we kind of try to chase him down, you know what I mean? Like try to find where he went. But so we saw that we can validate for that. And we noticed in this house, and it's still like we were just there this last weekend, trying a different method this time, but we were there, and oh my gosh, I have
Last weekend?
fibromyalgia, people. My brain sometimes doesn't always think right.
So this last weekend.
Yeah, but what was I saying with that?
So we were there this
Oh,
last
the
weekend.
sounds, the loud.
Yeah.
So this thing, when you are the quietest, every time that we were there, we would make sure that we were quiet for at least like maybe 20 minutes. And you could hear screaming. You could hear flat out talking and stuff like this. Thing was, between the two, it was a very loud, going ons and stuff like that. This last time we were there, we were able to make some progress finally. We were able to remove the human pervert spirit. And here's the thing. I think this human pervert spirit was the one that was causing, I would say, close to 70% of the haunting and 70% of the fear that was going on, because it was the most active.
Yeah.
The actual shadow djinn thing would hang out in the garage, and yet he had his part too. But for the most part, it was the other one that was, I don't know if he was kind of like ciphering power off the djinn, or if they had some sort of relationship that was
Sure.
kind of like playing off each other. But he is still there, and I was told that was for another time. Actually, I was told that was for Sarah to handle, like, by continuing doing light work and whatnot. So at least we got rid of part of it.
Well, if you
and
think
then
it's
I had
a
to
djinn, you might need to find an imam.
Well, and I had to tell him. I said, so we had to leave that one entity there. And I said, now djinn are very heavy feeling. So even though we got rid of the one that's causing most of the haunting, you're going to go to your house, because he'd go there during the day and check up on stuff, and it's going to feel heavy still. That's just djinn in general. They've got that almost overwhelming presence. And I said, that doesn't mean he's going to be doing anything. I don't hope he's not going to be doing too much, because he seemed like he was weakening, but I think it's going to still be over time. Now, what does that mean for a new family moving into this house?
Right.
We don't know for sure.
That's
we are
why we're
hoping
trying
that
to do
we
everything as fast as we can.
Yeah, we are hoping he has not sold it yet. And so he hasn't even been moved out for maybe like yet 2 weeks. And so we're hoping the longer he stays away from the house, the more that we can continue to come in and do what we need to do.
So the djinn hangs out in the garage?
Yes, yes.
Does he have a foot locker in the garage or memorabilia in the garage?
He might. There's tons of boxes of like their like
Moving stuff.
but even before that, even
Yeah.
before they moved, there was tons of boxes of like just things that they weren't using or that they wanted to
We'd have
save
to go
in
there
the
and
garage.
check. He literally just gave
You'd want to
us.
ask him.
He gave us the code to get into the house and said,
Yeah.
"Okay,
Good
you guys
luck.
can come over whenever you want, do whatever you want. I don't care. I will be in Eagle Mountain. Do whatever." That's what
So-
he told us.
Do djinn usually follow people? Do you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Djinn
So is he
are...
aware of this? That it likely
Well,
is not
so
a
he's
problem
hoping, but
solved?
we're not going to tell him that, because here's the problem: if he moves, he's already obsessed.
He's gonna be obsessed
He's an
with it.
obsession, and so we
Gonna
want to
drop.
take that obsession away. And so sometimes you don't tell your client the whole truth, just because it
It'll
could
make it
cause
worse.
the haunting worse.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we're just hoping. The problem is he's going to stay at his sister's house, and his sister already is really negative person. I guess there's things going on at that house, not haunting wise, but negative in nature. And so we're just like, I told him, I don't think that's the best place for you to go. Are you sure there's nowhere else that you can go? And I said, even if you sell the house, I said, when you finally sell it, you need to go get an apartment right away. He goes, no, I'm going to kind of stay with my sister. And I'm just like, your history, and with you coming off of a haunting this bad, you need to get all the way away. You
That
know what I
would be
mean? From
torture.
anything. So that's why we struggle so much with this house case. It's not our skill per se as it so much as him, unfortunately. So
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to give a real quick djinn breakdown.
yes, thank you. I'd like to know what you learned, what you know about it.
Okay, so djinn in the Islamic faith, and this is coming from a novice but they were, when God created the earth, he created jinn, and they were kind of his helpers. The Native Americans have a lot of this in some of their traditions. They were kind of the workers. They're made of smoke and fire, and they assisted in creating man and the terrestrial world. And some of them decided to stay behind, but they are older beings. They're older or the same age as angels. So they've got this immense power. They're creators. They have a lot of physical strength and paranormal strength and everything else. And that's what jinn are. But yes, jinn are known to take you home. They're known to possess, and imams do have prayers to get rid of them.
Wow.
So we actually played with the idea of actually trying to find, like trying to find somewhere where we could bring in one of, like, I don't know if you call them priests or whatever and stuff, but we haven't been able to find anyone who would come in and do it for less than
Practicing.
like $500.
We found
they're
Sarah
charging.
tried to go to so over in Salt Lake there is across the street from each other there's one of their churches, and then along with crystal shop, and Sarah had just gone there and picked up some crystals and everything, and then she went across the street with her bag still in hand and tried to go ask for help from them, and they basically told her, "You're not from our faith, you're not from our church, we will not help you. Go find someone else," is what they basically told her.
And
So we've had a hard time literally finding
And-
anyone else
and-
because they're the only ones in this area.
And they might not even be believing it too sometimes. You know what I mean?
And you also got to
Sometimes-
understand, in Islam,
Kind of a
there's,
cold call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's different Islamic faiths too, and some of them are
Exactly.
more insular and some more outgoing. And
Yeah.
in Utah, they would probably be extremely
Yeah.
insular because they're surrounded by LDS, and
LDS.
Yes.
with a tinge of some Protestant and Catholic faiths around on the edges. So
Sure. They're definitely the minority, so they would be, cautiously protective of
Yeah.
their faith. Sure.
Yeah. So, any other questions? I know we kind of
well, we
got talking there.
I like this. I like this this house story, but I want to move on to some of the accoutrement that you brought with you.
Yeah.
Oh, I just brought, so we have so much different types of equipment, and I didn't want to bring it all because I'm sure you guys had someone out here to explain the different types of equipment and everything
Oh,
that are
no.
out
A
there.
touch. A touch.
Oh, we have so much. We should have brought it all. But I did happen to just grab two things that me and Mary ourselves like to use, which is dowsing equipment. Dowsing equipment really works really well for some people, and other people it does not work at all. But it's always worked really well for us. And so I brought
And what-
two of my favorite things, and these are dowsing rods, and we like them because they light up so that when we're investigating a house at night and it's
In the
dark,
dark,
we can
yeah.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, we had some ancestors that used dowsing rods to find water.
Yeah.
Yes. And
So these, what are you looking for when this is your tool of choice?
okay.
So
Well, they kind of are great for anything. So we can count out. By the way, so when people use these, when you get dowsing rods and stuff, you want to make sure you're not touching the top or the bottom to make sure your hand's not influencing how they turn. And then also you're going to either
So they're free
floating.
floating. there.
Yeah. And so then also you want to make sure that your either elbows are on a tabletop, or if you don't have a tabletop, you're going to put
The
your
way hers are
elbows
tucked in.
Yeah, so that you're making sure you're as steady as possible so you're not shaking or whatnot. And now dowsing rods will work two different ways that we're just going to kind of go off of. One is via your own energy manipulating it, like your energy field. And the other is by
Oh, look at
using
me.
spirits. No, and so here's the thing. And so right now she's going to use her own energy field to
let me back
basically
away.
answer
You
it.
can go
Or
ahead
you
and
could say
stand up and
Yeah.
we'll get the camera.
you can say, yeah, and I'll
looking
kind of
at you.
explain it. But it's basically what she's going to do is, we know that your place isn't haunted and stuff like that, but we actually have, I'm going to tell you, we brought a 15-year-old little spirit girl in here with us. She goes with us everywhere.
We could have done this
okay.
at
This
your
is her
house.
favorite. No,
At
she
the
won't stay
park.
here. I promise she'll come.
Okay, how did you come in contact with her? How do you know her?
Okay, so how do we know her? I had purchased a daycare, and my employees, when they found out as a paranormal investigator, they said, "Hey, Jennifer, you know this place is haunted." And you know what? I get a lot of stories like that when they find out because they're trying to josh me or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. And I was still so setting up the business and stuff that I wasn't really filling out the energy. I wasn't really giving it the chance.
So you bought a haunted daycare?
Apparently.
That sounds like
Yes.
that
And here's the
sounds-
thing is her family...
That sounds scary.
Well, no, it was good haunted, but her family, this was out in Far West, and her family was the first pioneer family that had farmed the land out there in Far West. And she had passed away.
Far West is a lovely
Far West
area.
Utah, yeah. And we didn't know, and they said, well, Jennifer is haunted and her name's Jackie or whatever, and I'm just like, hey, whatever.
And the employees there, like they're people that worked there when you
before
bought it.
me, yeah, before me when I purchased
And
it.
so you come walking in there like, hey, we got a haunting.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, right. You know, I just didn't give it a chance because I was so busy. Like when you're just purchasing a business, your thoughts are, you know, on all that stuff. And then as you know, the weeks kind of turned into slowly into like 2 months process, I started like, you know what, I am picking up stuff here. What is this, you know? And I could definitely, so we walked downstairs, and that downstairs, so we rented this building from the city, from Far West. It was their old courthouse. And so downstairs, where there was no classrooms and stuff, were the old courthouse records. They had boxes and boxes of like transcripts and like the old voting booths and stuff like that. And then we stored some equipment down there too. And I walked down there and I could feel in one corner a definite male presence. And he was very scared and he just kind of stayed over there. And then underneath the stairs that we'd walk down, I could feel something, but it was very closed off. Like they wouldn't really reveal if they were male, female. I couldn't pick up a lot. Eventually, though, I got down there. Well, so they said, no, her name's Jackie or whatever. I'm just like, okay, whatever. One night I was there till I think it was like close to like 4 a.m. I was just cleaning classrooms, setting things up, fixing stuff, doing paperwork. And I go to close and I go to lock the front door. And I heard, I go to lock the door and I almost went to go shut it. And I hear, goodbye. And it was a female voice. And I go, oh, you are female. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh my gosh. And it was funny. They explained to me that she had, and I hadn't seen her yet. Like I said, she was still trying to get used to me. And her saying that was kind of like, but that was with my physical ears, not just mediumship wise. And she said, oh yeah, she's this 15-year-old girl and she's got red hair and she wears it in braids like the old pioneer style. And one night I finally saw her again. I was in my office super late at night, the only one there. And there's this window that parents would kind of like type in their code and I can kind of see through the office who was coming and going. And I happened to turn to stretch and I see her right there. And she sees me that I saw her and she hurries up and she ducks down. And I'm like, no, don't be shy. I already saw you. Why are you hiding? You know what I mean? And I was so excited. She was exactly like my employees had said. And ever since then, I like started to trust them a bit more. Now, we had to close down the daycare. We lost our lease because they were going to be able, they had an offer on the building to actually purchase it from someone. And so we were basically being kicked out. Sad story. But she decided, like, ever since, well, so we owned the daycare for about 3 years. And in those 3 years process, this little girl, Jackie, I shouldn't say little, she's about 14, 15. She got to know us more. And she was funny. We started noticing her going on ghost hunts with us, like following everywhere. She thinks Mary is like her sister, best friend. Like she's absolutely fascinated with Mary.
What kind of danger does a young child, or not child,
well,
an adolescent ghost
so here's my problem. I thought
have with other ghosts?
Well, I don't think she does. She started learning that she kind of had her own little job and duty. First off, I couldn't get her to cross. I told her, you know what, we need to kind of move you along. You need to cross. And she told me flat out, I'm not going anywhere.
I was going to ask you, why is she here?
No,
she just doesn't want to go.
She just doesn't want to go. And she said, I felt like I was waiting for something. I didn't know it was you two, but it was definitely you two. And I'm sticking it out for a while. And so I'm like, well,
so
if I can't force her, so if I can't force her, then you know what? Let her. And it's funny is like how many people have a spirit attachment that goes actively to paranormal investigations and engages with the people there. There were many times people took a picture aiming towards me and Mary, and they would see her, like you know, like in the background of the picture and stuff like who's that girl behind you guys? You know what I mean? And so it was really cool. Now she loves using dowsing rods.
I've got to get past the fields for a minute.
She loves these dowsing rods. Now, so her job that we eventually learned at investigations, which she kind of gave to herself, was she would go around finding any possible spirit children that might be there and trying to get them to come forward and talk with us so that we can move them on. So she was really good at that.
She's your...
she became a spirit guide in a way.
Your medium.
Yeah, a medium to our medium. Yeah, she's funny. So she would do that. And then her second job, and she just does this so well. I don't know why she chose this, but you would often hear through a spirit box where the male spirits of a place would get mad, and you would hear them say, Jackie, stop it. Jackie, go away. Or they'd say something like, Jackie, knock it off. You know what I mean? And you'd hear him, and we would start laughing. We're like, oh, she's irritating the guys again. One time, we asked her, there was this kind of spirit that we were interacting with. It wasn't quite negative. He was just a grumpy old man sort of thing. And we go, so Jackie, what is he like? And she goes, he's an egghead. And I go, what an old fashioned term. We heard this right on the spirit box. Everyone in the room heard, he's an egghead. And I go, what a funny little term, and it's so old fashioned. But so she likes to use these, and we'll show that here in just a second. But another part of the story, the egghead, is there was another time we were laughing about it, and we're like, so we were with another group at another location, and we were just kind of bored, and we're like, we had a spirit box, and I go, so Jackie, what do you call male spirits, that are kind of a jerk? And she goes, they're effing eggheads. And I go, wow, when did you learn to swear? That's not cool, girl. But here, she likes to use them. And what we can do with dowsing rods is when we get to a location, we can use them to sense out, is there portals in the room? So for us, crossing always means yes. Open means no. At least that's what we've learned with me and Mary.
Questions.
Yes, so you try to ask yes or no questions. And so we'll say, hey, is there a portal in this room? If we're feeling it, we're going to try to confirm it and stuff. And so let's say, is there a portal in this room?
Boom.
That's
All right.
a no answer.
Thank you.
Okay, and then sometimes we'll ask, like,
anything in this house?
Is there
besides you, of course? Oh,
No.
Oh, Jackie.
Yes, she's
My
really
girl.
She's really cool. Now, other times
She's
we'll
spread
ask,
apart. For
Yes.
those listening,
Yeah.
Jackie spread apart.
Yes. So she's really cute and funny, but what we'll also ask is if we're having like a really heavy room and stuff, we'll ask, where is the spirit with the most energy? Which direction? And so we'll ask the dowsing rods to follow whichever way. But I'm going to ask her which one of us, now I'm going to cross from Mary because Mary's kind of holding, but which one of us has the most energy right now? Can you point to that person?
No.
No, we're going to cross from Mary because it can't point to Mary because she's
I
holding them. So
Mary has the
Mary's
most
very
energy.
aggressive energy right now. Well, not aggressive. I just say the most thing right there.
Strong. And
Yes. And then another thing we can ask is it to
who has
count
the
out.
least energy?
Yeah, who's got the least amount of energy in here?
What? No. Should be me.
But another thing we can ask is, can you count out how many spirits are in this room? Or sometimes we'll count out, can you count what decade did you pass away in? So we'll say each tap is for the, 10 decade and stuff. So,
Let's see how many spirits are in this room.
She said
well,
none.
it should say none because she already said that. So we
Okay.
need something we can also ask to count out. Like, and I don't know if she would know this. I've never asked this question. And I don't know if she could pick this up on your little doggy. You know what I mean? But let's ask, can you count out how old Dozer is? The little doggy. Can you count? Do you know how many years old he is, honey? I don't know if this will work because I don't know if she's ever. So that's 1 tap. 2 years. And it stopped at 4. I don't know if she would know that, if she
Yeah.
had a way of finding out. Is 4 correct or
well,
not?
no, she's a year and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
About. So
She's
what's
just a
dog
baby.
years?
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think dog years kind of counts to us. But like I said, that's something I don't think she even knows enough about the dog to even answer that. I don't think it's something that you could read off spirit, like energetically.
Yeah, I don't know how you would know on. I mean,
So,
she's a Yorkie, so they're spazzes until they're
So now
old.
they respond very fast to us, to me and Mary both. And so other people will pick them up and they'll just like go every which way. They cannot get in what we call back to center. You know what I mean? They have a hard time. Like if someone asks a question, if we ask them a question and someone else is holding them, they have a hard time responding to it. You know what I mean? And there's times where dowsing rods are so fun to hold because as you're asking questions, you can tell it's kind of like when it's just the energy's answering, but you can sometimes feel when a spirit is just like pulling them. It's the trippiest feeling in your hands, or you can just kind of feel it where it just kind of like just goes bling, and kind of pushes it and stuff. It's a trippy thing to feel. And so we always give people the opportunity to experience kind of what it is like. So we love using dowsing rods. They're kind
I'm
of
just
fun.
extremely happy she said there's no other spirits
I told you I wasn't feeling anything.
in this house.
Yes.
Not in this room. In this house.
Yes.
Yeah, we've kind of toyed with Cardboardo as
Yeah.
being
So
in the house.
Cardboardo he's gone.
He must be gone. He's
Good.
too weak.
Yes.
Cardboardo.
Our other favorite way to use in most mediums is a pendulum. And oftentimes it's something that people will even
That's
not
like
even
the
as a
spirit
medium.
board.
It's kind of like, so basically I'm going to put again gonna anchor my arm down and stuff like that. And I'm going to, for me, by the way, finding your own pendulum is a different thing. You cannot just go and pick out any pendulum in a store and have it work for you. It's a lot of picking up, seeing what one works best for you, which one responds most energetically or enthusiastically to you and stuff like that. And for me, my pendulums I've gone through a couple, and for me, pendulums have always responded counterclockwise as yes. And then, yep.
I want to come in on this whole.
I'm going to move this. So counterclockwise is yes for me, and clockwise is no.
Okay, so right now.
Okay, it's going clockwise because I'm saying no. And then it'll go back and forth as maybe or I don't know, or it just doesn't understand, but it responds very fast to me. Now, with Jackie here and stuff, or if anyone, I can almost be like, so some people will say, let's see, what's a question we could ask a pendulum? What can you think of a question? Needs to be yes or no. But go ahead.
Does time feel the same now as it did when you were alive?
That's a good question. Well, does time feel the same? Okay.
It's kind of
Yeah,
going
it's
It's going counterclockwise.
So no. Okay.
So no, it does not feel the same. Now, with me, it'll stop immediately. Sometimes I can ask questions one after another. I don't have to wait. Some people, they touch them, and I'm going to kind of force it in a way, like with my energy. But they have to wait for it to slow down slowly. My pendulum is really good at almost stopping midpoint and ready to go to the next question. That's how much it's tuned into me. Like, I don't have to stop and wait for it to kind of settle down before I ask my next question. It'll almost stop swinging very quickly and get going the direction I need it to go in. But how do I know this was my pendulum? I picked it up, I held it like this, and the larger the circle it made, the more I knew that this was for me.
So it seemed to have
This
more
is yours.
energy.
Yeah, it wasn't this little tiny little. Some people can pick up a pendulum. Hold on, let me get it to stop. But some people can pick up a pendulum and it's these little, like just like this. That's as far as they can get it to move.
Yeah, mine
are very.
limp.
But I have seen people. I don't know how they do it. They do have those pendulum boards where there's got the letters or whatnot on it, and I don't know how that exactly works, because it could be two ways. Like,
Yeah, it
'cause
swings.
Yeah, exactly. And when it's swinging, you almost have to wait for it to stop swinging before it goes to the next, before you can go to the next one. So I don't know how they use it. I saw one lady and she had to have been manipulating it because she had it where it was, instead of like in a circle, it was like kind of almost like a Ouija board and stuff. And so, but she was like, she was like, so what is the spirit's name here? And it was like we're going K-A-R-E-N.
So it was pulling in
like it was
directions it shouldn't have.
It shouldn't have been able to do that. I didn't see it. I think she had to have been doing it. Like, I wasn't watching
Like
carefully.
a magnet under
it was,
the desk?
No, I think what she was doing just what I'm doing right now. She was swinging it to get it to go the way she
But
wanted
you'd
it
be
to
able
go.
to notice that.
It was dark and we were farther back at that
Oh,
time. I would love to meet her again and watch it more closely now. When I first witnessed that, we didn't know a lot about pendulums. I wasn't using them that much at that time, so I wasn't really watching. And now I'd love to go back and just really look. I do know she was holding it like this, so it had to, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it was really strange. So we love to use these when we don't have, like all of our equipment. I'll always try to have my pendulum with me. Sometimes I'm a Lyft driver. And I will get in a car, and I don't tell people I'm a psychic or a medium, but sometimes I'll get someone that gets into my car and I'm the driver, and their spirit guides or their dead relative is just like, you need to tell them this, Jennifer. And I'm like, first off, and so I'm telling the spirit,
imagine that?
I know, I'm like, they're a stranger. What if they're like, really Mormon or something and don't believe in this, they're going to be offended. I'm going to get downrated. Like, I'm going to get 2 stars. You know, I'm going to lose. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to, I'm doing this job now, not that
you
job.
would have to
But I have
like
had a
be
couple,
committed to
yeah.
I am the psychic Lyft driver, and
I know.
it'd
Well,
be
it's
like,
starting to
it'd be
become
like
that
that
way.
Taxi cab
I've had a
movie.
couple where they were so loud and aggressive that I just kind of finally said, and I don't even remember how I always bring it up, but I kind of just like, I said, this might make, I said, I've got to say something and I don't know how to best say it. And I say, and if you don't want me to go any further in this conversation, please let me know. But I've got to tell you something, you know. And I said, and so I usually go, I'm a psychic medium, and I've got so and so here. You know what I mean?
And
like,
at that
is this
point, you
true?
hear the door open.
No,
and me
no. Well, usually I'm
tumbling.
driving, and so that's another hard
That's what
time.
I'm saying,
It's
me
hard to do
tumbling.
a driving. As I'm doing this, like, it's hard enough to like do a reading in the first place, let alone while I'm driving and stuff, and then adding the insecurity of how is this person going to respond to that?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, they're
but
not
it's funny.
seeking
But
you
every
out.
single time I've done really well. Like, I've not gotten something wrong. The people have not hated me. They've actually been really grateful for, you know, the opportunity and stuff like that. But yeah, I was laughing, and I said, so I need to do like the psychic Lyft driver, like something like that. But I said, that's kind of a lame name, but man, I need some cards.
Okay, so we
in
got
my
2
car.
competitions. we've got the psychic lift, and we've got the
PairONormal.
But the thing
and
with
we've
this,
got
I
the
know.
name the
Yeah.
PairONormal
with the
Girls.
logo. The only thing, though, I worry about is I don't want people to really know that I'm a psychic Lyft driver all the time, because people think they get in the car and they're like, so what do you pick up from me? Huh? What do you pick up?
That's a
What's
good
around
point.
me? That's what they do all the time. And sometimes there's no one there for me to really, like, they always,
Like
people
now.
Sorry to
think,
let you
people
down.
think they
It's
walk
quiet.
around with people all the time, like, attached to them, that I'm like, not all the time. So, yeah.
Let's just keep the status. There's nobody attached to me.
yes.
So tell me, does
Yeah.
your husband is like you said, he's gifted as well, but he's just like, I'm trying not to do it. Does Jackie go to your house? And is he like, why?
Jackie knows. You can go explain.
So
Why is this 15-year-old here? You know?
So he kind of knew, because he also worked at the daycare. He helped run it most of the time. And he just learned to accept that once the daycare closed, she was coming here. Like, he just kind of accepted it and was like, you know, whatever, I don't care. So she kind of just mainly stays in my bedroom.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh
just
yeah,
knows.
it's just
'Cause
Mary's
he-
friend.
He knows it's her. But Jackie would follow Mary to school sometimes, and they'd be in class, like in band, or like having a class in the band room. And Jackie would get bored sometimes and go bang on the drum, like make a sound. And it's funny because the children, her classmates, you know, in high school, or the teacher go, "Ooh, there's a ghost in here." And Mary's like, "You have no idea."
You
I'm
just
just
gotta
kind of
sit.
sitting there like,
She's like, "Jackie,
Yeah.
knock it off. Just go home, Jackie."
Yeah, seriously.
But she's
So
not.
you missed your opportunity to like
But he's
those bullies.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so the bullies were in elementary. After elementary, everyone goes to the same high school, Ogden High School. And I decided I wasn't going to do that. So I went to a different school. It was a charter school.
Good.
And I tried for nobody to find out about my past. Nobody really did, but I was still that person nobody would talk to. They'd just kind of leave alone, whatever, be like, whenever I tried to talk to them, they'd be like, haha, yeah, I got a phone call to make or something like that. They'd always do that. So I've always kind of been the loner.
But
Yeah.
she's very mature for her age. That's where a lot of the problem comes in. A lot of her friends are like my friends, and it's because they're about the same maturity level. She has a hard time with people her own age.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question. How do y'all go on with like normal lives knowing all the stuff you know?
So
Like, how do you like just go to Starbucks and get a coffee now? Like,
It's everyday life for us. But actually, when we go into new locations, like say we've not been to that Starbucks before, I'm getting a feel of what's that energy like in there, because I'm like hoping to scope out the next haunted location to investigate. So to me, it becomes a game.
so
So you're
You know-
eyeballing Starbucks and
Well, we've done actual couple grocery stores that have reached out to us, and we've actually investigated. We're not going to say the names, but we've actually investigated a couple and helped them with their hauntings.
Yeah.
Brolums.
Like big time grocery stores.
There's this restaurant we're working on in Ogden right now, and we ate lunch there one day, and I'd always kind of felt stuff there before, but it had been so long since I ate lunch in there, since we'd been actively investigating, that we went in there and we ate, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this place still has this crazy energy. And so I went up to, I've gotten really good at like just going out to like the manager and saying, hey, so I'm a psychic medium, and I'm really picking up, you guys get a lot of activity in this place. And for the most part, they're all like, yeah, we do, and, they'll invite us in to investigate or whatnot. So it's been kind of really cool. Now, Jackie, I got to tell you, isn't our only spirit that follows us. We also have this one mostly follows me. He's about a 3-year-old boy. His name is Christian, and he's from Asylum 49. He used to be their little star spirit there. So Asylum 49 does investigations all the time. Yeah. They're insanely haunted, but, it used to be. It's kind of seems to be dying down a bit, but another story. But he happened to really like Jackie and really happened to like me. We were there once investigating. We were playing some games with him and everything, and he got into the car as we were going to leave, and I turned and I looked at Mary and I said, Christian just jumped into the car with us. What do we do? And I'm just like, I'm not going to tell him no. If he wants to kind of come home, or whatever, I'm not going to deny, this cute little 3-year-old. I thought he'd eventually go back, I think he picked up, first I was a preschool teacher, and at that time we were still owning the daycare. So I think he was picking up a lot of that energy of that would be a better
Other
place
children.
for him instead of hanging out there all the time, at Asylum 49. And so
there's apparently some not so friendly spirits there.
So
no, we
here's
do.
the
So here's the
thing
thing with my husband.
So at Asylum 49, actually, and there's a book written about Asylum 49 called The Haunting of Asylum 49, written by Richard Estep. Okay, he actually is from London, and whenever he comes, he always hits up the Queen Mary, Asylum 49, and then the Stanley Hotel, and then he flies back. He's in the process of writing a book too.
The Stanley Hotel, that's that one in Colorado where they did
The Shining.
The Shining, yeah.
So anyways, he came here one night and they called us and they said, hey, he's going to be here tonight. We need some people that have investigated here before, that know the area. And she couldn't make it out that night. But I went out. I, drove down there with someone. I was 15 at the time. And we went down there.
hold on. Let's say I'm a friend of a family and their 15-year-old daughter says, I need a ride from Ogden to Tooele to talk
investigate.
to ghosts.
Well, he was also an investigator.
How quick can I turn off the phone?
So anyways, we get there and Richard immediately started coming to me and talking to me about things like, what have you learned about these spirits? What do you know about this? What do you know about the Guardian? Now, the Guardian is the spirit that most people are like, oh my gosh, he's the bad one. Like, he's, sometimes he touches people. Like,
He's so mean.
yeah.
Is
And
what they say.
we've come to learn, and they actually know who he was. He actually used to work at the hospital. Can't remember. His name was Cole.
Well, we're the ones who gave the name for him.
Yeah, and then they found him in the hospital records.
Yeah, because we said his name's Cole. He used to be a hospital administrator because they never really knew for sure and stuff. But go on.
We were both born in that hospital.
Really?
Yeah, it's an amazing hospital.
So he was, and he still is, he's autistic. So, and she has a couple of autistic children. So when they can't get their point across or they don't know how to verbally, they're more physical than verbal. So when he was trying to talk to people and be like, hey, just trying to just talk to them in general, sometimes he would get a little physical and touch them, or when they were being disrespectful.
Yeah, that's
or
where it comes
rude,
in mostly.
high school children. A lot of the time, we even had someone that was super drunk and they would roam up and down the halls screaming, "Come get me, demons!" and stuff at Asylum 49, which there's nothing like that there. So he would get a little handsy, just touch them, and they would be scared and they would run out of the building.
He was just, as an administrator in life there at that hospital, he was just as with the autism, he had a set of rules on how all of his employees needed to behave and how people behaved in the hospital. And
I wonder if Amy worked for him.
when people do when people do investigations constantly, it seems like it used to be almost every weekend, but now it's kind of really died down to maybe once every 3 months there now.
Do you think maybe all the intention maybe cleansed it a little bit?
Here's the problem. Ghost Adventures came out there and they made him seem like he's the bad guy. And so people watched the Ghost Adventures show and they read the book. And so now they're coming out there and they're trying to basically show off to their girls and antagonize. And that is going to get him reacting to him the fastest, because he is not going to put up with that there in that hospital. He watches over the people or the spirits that are still there. He runs a really well oiled ship there.
He definitely on Tuesday. Definitely.
So
on Tuesday.
he's all like, "Do not do it." So yeah, you're gonna get that. So anyway, she was telling the
Richard
guy
came and everyone left. This was like 4 a.m. because we were there from 6 p.m. until 8 a.m. So we went there with him, and I actually was able to channel the Guardian, and I don't remember anything of it. They did get video of it so he could go back for reference for his book. And apparently they had a lovely conversation where the Guardian was like, "Look, what you did me dirty in the book, and you know, everyone did me dirty with the episodes and everything." He basically told him, "You need to write the true story of me in the next book. You need to be honest."
So he's not mean. He's just he's a little reactive.
He's been
but he's
misrepresented.
protective.
Exactly. And apparently they agreed to something, and I shook Richard's hand, and that's the only thing I remember was us walking into the room and then me shaking his hand.
So
I
he
gotta
was
back
talking
up.
through you.
Yes.
You were possessed.
Well, it was a
channeling.
consensual
Possession
in
is
a way.
non
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's-
so
it's
what do you
more
call
like-
it?
channeling.
He wasn't in her body. He was talking using her, like, meaning Mary agreed to be able to say the things that he would tell her to say. And so Mary was, I guess channeling is different than what you'd say possession or whatnot.
Oh, okay.
Now, so anyways, it was funny is I guess they came to some sort of agreement. Mary doesn't remember. I wasn't there that night. And, Richard agreed that he wouldn't do certain things, but I guess he broke his word that very weekend.
From the Ghost Hunters guy.
Yeah, no, like the guy who wrote the book.
Okay.
The British
He broke
guy.
his word to the Guardian, Cole, and so yeah, Cole let him have it.
What did Cole do to him?
From what
don't
I've
know.
heard, while he was still staying in a hotel here in Twilla, it was actually nearby to Asylum 49. From what Richard told me, the Guardian went over to his hotel and basically told him he had to come back to Asylum because there was some crazy activity, so Richard thought he had to. So he went back, and apparently what had happened was he was walking and he got tripped. Just tripped out of nowhere.
Kicked the back of his shoe.
And then he looked up and he saw the Guardian standing there and was like, "You broke our promise." And then he just ran out of the building. He didn't even stay to find out anything.
Oh.
So, couple of comments. Lori Orgel says, both my parents worked in this hospital and I can confirm everything they are saying. 100% true. Been there, felt it, heard it. It's creeping me out because that makes more sense to me.
Yes.
Asylum 49 was where I figured out, oh my gosh, I'm actually hearing the spirits. So sometimes, like, there is a location that is so haunted that it almost, like, draws your gift up to the next level. And that was the first place that I really knew. There was no more doubting or thinking, maybe this is possibly happening.
You can no longer ignore it.
Well, yeah, and it was very obvious there. And so from that time on, Asylum 49 became very special to me. And me and Mary were going, like, twice a month. And those tickets to Asylum 49 are like $100 a pop to investigate. At least it was back then and stuff. We haven't really been this year. The last time we went was right before the end of last year when they rechanged everything. Like, they had gutted the whole building.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that building had been 100%
No,
gutted.
actually, we went when they had just redid the haunted house.
I know, but the first time was like when they wholly re-gutted it, and the spirits that were so upset. And so when they finally redid the haunted house, we we took the next investigation to go see, are the spirits that upset over it still? Are they okay with the changes? And it was the first time we've ever been there that we got no activity on any equipment.
Maybe they left.
It was, well, I don't think they had left. It's just, it had kind of like, I think most of them moved over to the other side where the nursing home is, where it was more of a community center now.
Now-
I think they like the community center.
Okay.
I think they like
you
that.
can go wander through the community center, and I'm telling you, I don't.
Yeah, they
I
have
don't-
crystal shops. They have
Yeah.
readers in there. That's
I don't
crazy.
get a sense of anything until I walk into that auditorium, and then I always feel
Yeah.
in that. And I don't know if it's because it's a big hollow space, but I'm completely uncomfortable in that auditorium.
Well,
I'm
for the
looking
nursing
an
home
exit.
center, that in the nursing home center, the auditorium is where they did all the group classes and the activities and stuff. So it was an important part of the seniors' lives, and how many seniors passed away there, and are probably still there. So we don't go as often anymore, but yeah.
Another question. Kimberly says, "Do you send the spirits home?"
For the most part, we send them back or we move them on. We cross them. It was going back to my husband. Sometimes he's just like, he knows we bring something, maybe something negative followed us or whatnot. And he's like, Jen, Mary, you need to go fix that. He just tries to leave it alone for the most part. But yeah, we'll send them back, or if that people don't want them there, we'll cross them or we'll suggest some other places for them to go. It really depends on so many different factors.
So once they've crossed, can they come back freely?
Yes.
Because are we still? We're still getting
That's
some
why,
of that.
and that's one of the things we always tell people or that's a good point that we are able to talk spirits into crossing is like, hey, you cross, you go over there. You know what I mean? You're going to be able to come back anytime you want without these hang-ups, without these holdbacks and stuff like that. So you're not saying goodbye to this side of the world or saying goodbye to seeing your family. It becomes even more freeing and it's more easy to do.
So there's a little bit of an orientation, maybe a 2-day
actually,
meet and greet, walk around.
I refuse to do readings for anyone who's either passed away under the age of 8, and that's mostly because a lot of people want me to do a reading on like a newborn baby or something. There just wasn't a lot of personality at that time, you know what I mean? So it's hard, and then often, I hate to say this, it might break someone's hearts, but a lot of babies, if they passed away early in life, either come back into the family as a sibling or as a cousin or whatnot, or they move on to another family. They had things that they needed to do for the most part, not all of them. And so I refuse to do anyone under the age of 8 or anyone who's not passed away and it's been at least 6 months because they need that time to adjust. There's things they need to learn, things that they need to work through and stuff. So yes, absolutely.
Have you ever had a language barrier with a spirit?
Yes, that happens. So that's when you can't hear them, but that's when I'm going to use the gift of energy reading and the empathy, and I'm going to be able to feel more of their emotions, and from those emotions you can construct sentences and stuff like that.
So there was actually the one time, what was his name, at our house. So we lived kind of in a sketchy part of town, and this was in February. So we lived kind of in a sketchy part of town, and we started to have some activity at our house. And we're where did this come from? Like,
did we bring it home?
Yeah, like, did they just wander?
It was poltergeist activity. It was like very obvious. Things getting thrown, like it was.
Like, I had a thing of thread that was thrown at me, and I saw it because I was kind of standing there talking to her, and I saw it kind of almost like pick up and get moved towards me. You could see the thread start to unravel from the bauble as it got moved towards me. And so we were like, what the hell is going on? So we decided on day 3 of all this happening, that night we were going to pull out some equipment, and you never investigate your house just because that attracts activity.
Excellent.
Yes.
So
good to know. Taking notes.
But being professionals, we needed to find out who this was.
We were like,
do you have someone else investigate your house?
No, we do it because we know. I mean, as
as the rule, never investigate your house. Have someone else do it.
And only have them investigate if there's absolute reason. Like, you are scared, you're worried, you know what I mean? You cannot live with this haunting, or you need to know, like, what is it? And then it should only hopefully become a one and done thing. Just to give you that information and then find out what needs to be done with it. But we tell people, like, they go to our ghost investigations or whatever, and they'll see us using apps on the phone. apps are so easy to come by in the app store. They're cheap. They're not like our equipment that's mostly $200 a piece. And so they're like, well, I saw this app and the girl's using this, and so now I want to go purchase it and use it. And that's one thing we always tell people in investigations: do not buy a spirit box and just run it willy-nilly in your home, because that's how you get a haunting. You know, it's inviting.
Yeah.
You're opening a spirit box that's
That
just
is
saying,
good
hey,
information.
it's like using a Ouija board.
We should have opened the show with that information.
Yeah. You're just like,
So-
hey, do not, you know, you're saying, you know, hey, I've got a spirit box open. Who wants to come talk? And that invites
You're
activity.
inviting them in.
Yes.
Yes. So we decided, you know, we needed to get this taken care of. Like, who was in our house? How did they come across? Like, we need to get them out. So we sat down with some of our equipment, and that was the first night that I actually did automatic writing. So what happened was, my gift kind of works by, I can see stuff in my subconscious. I can see what they look like, and I can hear them. So I was able to just basically have a listen to what he had to say, almost
And
like
then
had
write
a
it
conversation,
down.
and then write it down. And we were able to confirm through the spirit box everything that I had said. And I have a picture of everything that I wrote down.
And then we
And-
recorded the spirit box session. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, so we were doing that, and he told us that he was actually murdered nearby.
It was a
Recently,
drug deal gone
Yeah.
bad.
So
and
he-
his body
he
hadn't
said-
been found yet.
Yeah, he said
But he was
that,
actually, like, he spoke mostly Spanish. So it was...
So his name was Diego, and he said he had been stabbed in the stomach with a shovel over an ice deal gone wrong in the park by our house. And I wrote down all the information about him, what he looked like, and exactly what he said. And he
Here, let's
was
hold it.
yeah.
Bring it in. If you look up there, you can
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Might
keep
have
going.
to adjust the angle.
Yeah.
that's the
got it
picture
for
of
you.
her. There you go.
So
That's
he-
automatic writing.
Yeah, so he said that he was concerned that his son didn't know he was dead, and he wanted his son to know exactly what happened, and then his body hadn't been found yet. And he told us the name of his son. The name of his son was Victor, and he said, you know, someone needs to tell my son. And we said, well, how do we find him? And he said, well, he goes to the school with the Warriors, and the only school in the area with the Warriors is Weber High. And that is very close by. His son would have gone to that school since he lived in that area. I found him on Facebook, and I was like, hey, this is kind of a little weird. But he actually,
Hi.
and so he said, tell my son this code word, and he will believe everything you say. And I told Victor, hey, this is a little weird, but I was talking with your dad, and he said to tell you that you only love mustard on your hot dogs on Sundays. And he called me on webcam, and he's like, oh my gosh, he started crying. And I said, do you know where he is?
We
And he
never
said-
found his body. We
And
never were
yeah.
able to figure out where he was at. He didn't even know, like, himself when he had been
It's
murdered.
probably traumatic.
Yeah.
He didn't even remember. He goes, I know I was in one park, but I was moved. He goes, I know my body was moved, and I don't know where. So,
They did find a puddle of blood at that park,
yeah.
but there was no body. Like, there was enough blood where the police said that someone was possibly killed there, but nothing else. And he still does not know where his dad is, but he says he often feels his dad, and they haven't found his body yet.
So,
But how did he
leave
find
then?
us? Yeah, he
Yeah,
left.
he left.
He
Yes.
must have been drawn to you.
Well,
or maybe
that
Jackie.
was exactly no. It was him. So what happens is when you're mediums, you kind of like put out this light or energy subconsciously of what you are, and it seems to draw things. So we often get things that are stopping by the house, and most of the time we have like that protection set up where everything's just going to bounce off. The fact that he was able to get in kind of surprised us, and we're like, is this something negative? So she's not telling the funny story, though, is when we set up our equipment, we had set up basically we drew it in, you know, and we set up like basically this gel, and we put up like, we were so aggressive to him. Like, so we made it so he couldn't run out a window or whatever else like that. And we're like, who are you? What are you doing here?
Where were you on the
And,
night of
like,
October
and-
12th?
And we were so like, and it ended up being this, you know, this guy who just wanted help. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we came out guns
You
blazing
good
on
cop,
him.
bad cop, didn't it?
We
Exactly.
did.
That's
Oh.
if you can forward that to me, I want to overlay it on the video.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, that's no problem. So some people with automatic writing, they're also just drawing pictures and doodles and whatever else like that. Hers is more of mediumship or channels better when she's writing. And so when we're doing an investigation, if I see her start writing, I'm going to take over the investigation and I'm going to keep people
Allow
talking.
her to focus.
And I'm going to let her
Yes.
focus. And then when I see her done, or I can just sense it, I can feel it. And I'm like, okay, you're done. So what did you learn? You
So
I tell her.
if I go on one of these hunts with you,
I was gonna bring the doll tonight and I forgot.
oh, you want to?
What doll?
She's got a haunted doll. She's
got a
going to give
doll.
your friend Nate.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Nate. He can take it to his house.
See, you guys remember the Mummy?
Yeah.
The little Weasley guy?
Yeah.
I'm going to wear all the
I was
towels.
gonna
I'm going to
say-
look like Mr. T.
You say, if I go on an investigation with you girls, when he said that, I'm just like, he better go to somewhere that's like got a very
Well,
benign haunting.
We
Because
do have Benson
I wouldn't
Grist
notice
Mill coming
anything.
up. We have Benson
Yeah.
Grist Mill coming up.
Yes, we're going to that.
I wouldn't
Yes.
notice anything, honestly. Honestly,
That's
the
a great place
ghost
to start.
would walk right in front, would walk through me, and everyone would be like, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
what?
Well,
What?
see, in Benson Grist
I'm
Mill,
like checking.
it's
What?
it's a great place to start because the haunting stays there. It won't follow you home. Most of the time when we do public investigations, we're doing places where we know people can go and be safe and that it's not going to follow him home, you know, and that's why we do investigations only in certain locations. In other places, we don't allow the public to go because we want you guys to be able to go home safe without worrying.
And
What am I?
leave it behind.
Exactly.
Have a little
Exactly.
experience and then get on with our lives where we don't know anything else is going on. We can go to Starbucks and not think about anything.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Was there
So-
any other questions or anything else
Well,
you wanted to do?
we're going on 2 hours.
Oh, I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're chatting.
No, that's good. We love it. And this has been a super fast show.
We'll
I
have
have
to bring
so much to think about.
Well,
we'll have to bring all of our equipment and show you like
Yeah.
the different things. We could talk about apps and then what else did we say another time?
Aliens.
Aliens.
Oh my gosh, that's a rabbit hole, big ass.
Okay,
That's
well,
so
James
fun.
is on now. You mentioned aliens, and
You
sorry,
drew-
James, show's over.
You drew him in.
Anyhow, we want to have you guys on again, and I've been chatting with Sarah a little bit. We kind of want to have, I don't know, would you call it a?
Yeah, you're doing a meet and greet with each of the
Yeah,
team
kind
members,
of a
right?
meet and greet with
Yeah.
the team members, pairs, whatever, you know, maybe complementary pairs. We got the mother-daughter pair. We had Sarah and Ryan. I guess they're now a couple pair.
Yeah, they're so cute.
Yeah, and very nice people. So, you know, we'll figure something out. And so in the next couple weeks, have another group in. But I would like to do another show with you ladies on the equipment and definitely a follow-up on this house you guys are working through. And right now I want to do a call out. I don't know how far we'll reach, but I would like to reach out if anyone is of the Islamic faith who has an imam that likes to assist with possible jinn or even wants to confirm whether it is a jinn or something else.
Yep, that would be great.
You know, if they'd be willing to at least reach out to you guys, they can do it through us or
Yes.
the PairONormal Girls, any of the...
Yep, hook them up with me or Sarah or, you know, whatever needs to be done. But
Yeah.
Yeah, this show was like drinking from a fire hose.
Well, that's why when I asked,
Like,
I'm
give me
like,
a
what are we
second.
going to talk about? Because we could go all over the board here.
I'm gonna have to write down all my questions. I'm gonna have lots of questions as I unpack
Well, and you can always just
everything
PM us
we've
later.
everything
separately.
we've
Well, we will
talked about.
definitely have you ladies on
Yeah.
again.
Wow, that was
And we'll see you guys at Benson Grist Mill.
Yes, we'll have
Yes.
Sarah and Ryan on
That's in
again.
October.
It's October 24th.
Yes.
Seventh.
Oh,
And if
No,
you
it's
guys ever have anything that you're like, hey,
Yeah, if
we
there's
really want to
something
let
coming
the
up,
public know about.
Or something interesting.
So usually we're always doing events as the PairONormal Girls team, but this September, October, we are actually members on a couple of teams as being mediums, you know what I mean? And then just kind of making friends. We're part of the Hidden Realm with Sarah, you know, PairONormal Girls. We have contacts and there's sometimes with spirit sessions. And then there's another team called the Other Realm that we're part of. So we're kind of part of, like, we're kind of pretty far, like, out there with a lot of the teams. And we decided instead of competing, or not even just competing, like, we wanted to just support the other teams as they've supported us through the years. And so October, we're like, it's going to be all about us going to their events and supporting them. We
That's
just had
perfect.
a huge event-filled summer, and so we're kind of just going to be backing up. When I first started the team, I wanted us to be known for the events. But it's funny is we're becoming known as the residential cases to go to. Like I that wasn't my intention, but that's just how it's happened.
It's
We
kind of
have
the way it's.
a lot of residential experience and stuff like that, and so it's kind of become. And I actually like it that way. It's
Well, that's
Well, you would feel like you're helping people.
yeah, and people are like, well, Jennifer, why don't you put out a lot of content? As far as we go is doing Facebook Lives. We're very religious on the Facebook Lives on most locations and stuff, and it's because when you're almost like filming someplace, it's almost like it becomes scripted, or it becomes you're always aware of like where's the cameras, what's going on, and it kind of takes away from the organicness of it. And honestly, I've just not really had like a big tech person that's really been like able to take that over for me.
We
And
did
so-
just get Jesse, and he's actually watching.
Yeah, he's going to be like our cameraman and stuff like that. And we're kind of hoping, how can we turn... Right now, we're taking our lives and then just kind of like trying to put them into little mini episodes for YouTube. But it's just become not my focus. I would like it to be one day, but it's more of working with people, you know, like with those residential cases and stuff. And you can't put residential cases often on YouTube. They're very personal. They're very... We do it.
Sure.
We once did it where we said that we were going to do a Facebook Live from a residential, and we caught hell from the paranormal community. I'll tell you what. They're like, what do you two think you're doing? That is so disrespectful. Those are supposed to be, they're very intimate. They're very private. And we're like, you know what? You're right. Those are very good cases. But we were asked to do that because, one, this family had a lot of family that was very concerned for them that were out of state, and they wanted to watch how the investigation went down. And two, we knew it was nothing that was going to be really too negative. And they said, you know what, we'd love to watch you girls do this. We'd love for our house to be on there. And, you know, it's a great learning opportunity to see, for people to see how a residential is different than an actual public investigation. It's its
and
own
it's
thing.
so validating for those people who are like, listen, I'm seriously experiencing something, but nobody in my life believes me. If they can log on to watch you guys and watch someone else going through that, that's huge.
Yeah, and
that's huge for people who have nobody else, especially if they come from religious backgrounds or, I don't know, live in Utah.
Yeah. And if
they don't have anybody who believes them.
Yeah, and it's hard. So we get a lot of flack for doing live sometimes for residentials, but it's because it's very certain circumstances that have lined up perfectly. I mean, you're probably seeing one live residential from maybe like the 10 cases that we do, because it just happens to fit within perfectly.
Sure.
And the people asked us, and we're not like we're saying they live at this location.
We're not doing this
to
get views.
Exactly. Well, that's people say it's all about the almighty dollar. I'm like, how am I making any money?
Yeah.
I don't have a YouTube channel really. I mean, we got one thing on there. I don't focus on that, so you can't say it's about that. And by the way, if people are asking about residential cases, we never charge for our time or for us going out there. It is a free service. You know what I mean? It is ridiculous to think that people are trying to charge families $200 or whatever. We don't even charge for a cleansing. Like, we are going out there, we're spending our own time, like our own weekend going out there. I'm not driving, so I'm not making money. All of our equipment costs money. We're going out there, we're helping people for free, and usually we're doing a cleansing for free. Well, so if they need specific crystals and they've asked us to, then maybe it's like $5 because we had to go purchase some crystals from the crystal shop or whatever. But we don't charge for anything like that, so they can't say it's about the almighty dollar.
Right. And there is comfort in numbers. Yeah, anyone who's been through anything traumatic, the first thing they do is look for other people who have been through that same traumatic event. So I don't think every case is a good case for Facebook Live, but there has to be some.
And I'll have to get you, like, later on, the link you can post up there to the group that we do. You know what I mean? The Haunted Utah True Stories and stuff like that. It's great.
Yeah,
the
get
more
us the links.
The more people we get on that group, the more stories and experiences we get out there. So, I mean, that's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, and I imagine that with permission, we'd like to do a show where we just read some stories.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Anything on there, I'm sure shouldn't be a problem. If people putting it on a Facebook group, then
Yeah.
it's out there for the internet. Unless, I'm sure someone would say, I don't want this to be known, but then why are they putting it on there? Most of the stories on there are really great things that people said. So it's a good, fun thing. It started off as just like something kind of fun to do, and it just grows. Like right now we're doing, like, to me it's a lot. We're getting like adding 20 members a day. It's like just gone from like 1 to 3 a week to just compounding. So it's been kind of fun to watch it grow. So
All right.
all right, thank you guys. Sorry we talked your heads off.
No,
That was
thank
an
you.
awesome show.
Look in the show notes. All their contact information will be in there. Track them down. If you have a problem at your house or your work or somewhere where you need their assistance,
Yep,
reach out to them. Get on their schedule.
Sarah just posted the group link.
Yeah, Sarah
Yeah, for
posted
those,
the group. So
for those of you on this live, there's a link
Yep.
that Sarah posted at the bottom of the comments.
Thank you, Sarah, sweetie.
Yep, and we will just look in the show notes, and if something's in there or you need assistance from us, again, reach out to us on our Facebook or.
And if there's any
different
questions,
emails.
we tried to answer as many of the comments. If we missed anything, message us. We'll make sure it gets to the right
Yeah, they're going to
Right.
be. This is
address and
either these ladies, Sarah Ryan, or some of the other, group members that we will come into contact with are going to become common guests. So
yeah, we'll make sure that they get the questions.
we can expect to have lots
Yeah.
of conversations with them.
crazy stuff.
Yes. Doesn't scare me
It's
at all.
everyday life for us.
I
I know
know,
you
that's
guys
what
just
I'm
think
saying.
it's so, but it's to us, it's our lives.
Awesome. Thanks for joining
All right.
guys.
Thanks for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Everybody have a wonderful night.
All right, thank you.
Violence is kill, not a sign of weakness. Violence is kill, not a sign of weakness.